40 இருக்கு சார்.
40 எக்கச்சக்கம் சார்.
1 மணிக்குள்ள முடிச்சிடும். 1 மணிக்குள்ள முடிச்சிடும் சார். They have given me 30 minutes. I will finish it.
Rajan sir, Pillai sir, we are on live now. YouTube live.
Okay.
Yes sir. Please.
Okay. Is it this way? I see. This way. We have to see the other way. So we'll be seeing that. We have to see. So we can see. Funny process. You are here.
Good morning, everyone. I from Aerospace Engineering Department. I say a very warm welcome to you all who are present here as well as who are attending online for this gathering to celebrate one of India's proud son, Professor Satish Dhawan's Centenary celebrations. I now request the dignitaries, our Honorable Chief Executive, Sri M.R. Srinivasmurthy, Pro Vice Chancellor Research, Professor Govinda Kadambi, Pro Vice Chancellor Health Sciences, Dr. D.C. Sundesh, and Registrar, Professor Sai Baba to take their seat, please, on the dais. We are indeed privileged to have distinguished scientists who had very close association with Professor Dhawan, Dr. Y.S. Rajan, former distinguished professor, ISRO, and Dr. D.S. Shivatanu Pillai, Member Board of Governors, RUAS, and former CEO and MD of BrahMos Aerospace, as our guests today, who will deliver distinguished lectures. I extend a very warm welcome to you, sir. I once again welcome you all for this gathering. May I now request all to raise for Ramaya Anthem, which showcases Ramaya Institute's ethos and values.
ಕನಸಿನ ಸಾಮ್ರಾಜ್ಯವಿದು ದೀಪದೊಳು ಪ್ರದೀಪಗಳ ಬೆಳಗುವ ಶ್ರದ್ಧಾ ಸ್ಥಾನವಿದು ಅರಿವಿನ ನಿರಂತರಾಚನೆ ಜಿಗಿಯುವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲವಿದು ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದ ಸೋಪಾನವಿದು ಪ್ರತಿಭೆಯ ಸಾಧನೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿಯ ಕೇಂದ್ರವಿದು ಅಜ್ಞಾನದ ಕತ್ತಲೆ ನೀಡುವ ಸುಜ್ಞಾನದ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ರಶ್ಮಿದು ಅರಿವಿನ ಹಣತೆಯು ಬೆಳಗಲು ಚೆಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಸಂಖ್ಯಾತ ಕಿರಣಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲೆಡೆ ಹೊರಹೊಮ್ಮಿವೆ ಜಯವೆನ್ನುವ ಈ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾನಕ್ಕೆ
Request all to visit. We are really honored to celebrate the most distinguished aerospace scientist and architect of Indian Space Research Organization, Professor Satish Dhawan. He is also regarded as the father of experimental fluid dynamics in India. He was the director of Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru from 1963 to 1981, being the longest serving director, and also the chairman of ISRO from 1972 to 1984. It's really our privilege to celebrate this. Now I request Honorable PVC Research and Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Govinda Kadambi, to welcome the gathering.
distinguished speakers for today's function, Dr. Y.S. Rajan and Dr. V.S. Pillai, respected Chief Executive Vocal Education Foundation, dear colleagues, Dr. Sundaresh and Dr. Sai Baba, dear participants and students, and dear colleagues and friends. Today is definitely one of the landmark and historic event in our university, both for the past as well as for the present and the future. We are here to recollect, remember, and celebrate the life, legacy, and the career of one of the foremost scientists, engineers, researchers, technologists, teachers, nation builders that our nation has produced. That is Professor Satish Dhawan. Many believe that notwithstanding the economic power, the stature and standing of a nation are determined through the technological advancements realized in nuclear science, defense science, and space science, in particular in defense science and aerospace. In both aerospace and space science, Professor Satish Dhawan's contributions are immense and almost unparalleled. We are fortunate enough that in the year 2019, our university was the first institution to be requested by ISRO in Karnataka and to propagate and associate with the awareness of space program, and in particular that also coincided with the centenary celebration of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, with the father of our space science. As we know, Professor Satish Dhawan inherited the space program from Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. It is befitting that we are also celebrating the centenary celebration of Professor Satish Dhawan. His career, life, and legacy are something that will be amazing and that can be debated, analyzed for a long, long time. Because now we have the speakers who will be talking more about their association, and they will definitely spell out some of the interesting things about Professor Satish Dhawan, both which may be on record and off record. My remarks will be more generic. Many believe, and many still believe, that America is a land of opportunities. One of my classmates who happened to stay there, once he wrote to me saying that America can be described as a place where there is something for everyone somewhere. So drawing that analogy, it is reasonable to presume that for anyone, irrespective of the stature and standing, one can always spot uniqueness and derive inspiration from the career, life, and legacy of Professor Satish Dhawan. One of the striking features of his career, particularly the education career, has been the unusual combination of degrees, particularly BA Physics and Maths, MA English Literature, and a couple of degrees in Mechanical Engineering and Aerospace. Usually there is a tendency to believe whenever a person diversifies or whenever there is a diversity, we think there is a dilution. But what Professor Satish Dhawan definitely has proved is when these diversified attributes are distilled, and if that can be distributed effectively, then those diversification or diversity can be a factor of distinction and also what we call a differentiating factor, because in any technology and research, that the factor of differentiation and distinction is very, very important. And he also proved that many things which are seemingly impossible are realities in his life. Just to mention a few, a meteoric rise from senior scientific officer in 1951 in IISc to directorship in 1963, that was in a matter of 12 years. So he has frozen it. And the directorship of IISc for 18 years. I think a tenure which I think in any government HES there is not matched actually. And very important thing we were supposed to know, that is he was on a sabbatical leave amidst the directorship to spend a year at Caltech as a visiting professor in 1971. That only shows his continued passion for research and respect for his alma mater. And he was chairman of ISRO for 12 years. And I think, most strikingly, Professor Satish Dhawan will always be remembered for his so-called parallel tracks or concurrent holding of positions of director of IIC and chairman of ISRO for about 9 years. So in the process, definitely has exhibited to endure the growing responsibility, technological challenges, infrastructure and HR development, international partnership for building and launch of satellite, demanding project and critical reviews of various projects, and development of indigenous facility to achieve the self-reliance. Though all of us may be puzzled how we manage the time and how we manage the complexities of such a magnitude, it is definitely a question that we have to really introspect. But I feel that there is a statement, or I paraphrasing Madam Curie's statement, actually, there is nothing in life to be feared. It is more to be understood. Now it is time to understand them more so that we'll fear less, actually. Probably Professor Satish Dhawan, in every walk of life, he would have adopted the golden saying of Madam Curie. He was an extraordinary leader and a great institution builder. And despite that, I think all his friends, students and colleagues always say his hallmark has always been his team spirit, and he was always with his team and colleagues in times of both agony and joy. Our teacher in high school in Bhadravati, late Gundappa, always emphasized a statement about a friend in need is a friend indeed. All of us are very conversant. I have heard many times about Dr. Kalam's statement in one of the early failures of SLV. Even though Professor Satish Dhawan was there and Dr. Kalam was there, moment there was a failure of that SLV launch, Professor Satish Dhawan asked Dr. Kalam not to come to the press, and he volunteered to meet the press, and he took the responsibility of the failure. At the same time, he said, we have failed this time, but we will succeed next time, actually. So this incident, Dr. Kalam always used to say, there was the great statesmanship and leadership of Professor Satish Dhawan. And Dr. Y.S. Rajan, in one of the speech, I've forgotten where, but he made a telling statement, true leaders will never take credit. They always give credit, whether they want it or not, credit will never leave them, actually. I think Professor Satish Dhawan's career has always been giving credit to his colleagues, students and researchers, and he never took credit for it. And he was a great teacher too. And as Professor Nasimha stated, actually, that is the striking feature of his teaching was he exhibited carefulness not only to the subject but also to the students. That was the striking difference between him and many others. So in Trinity College in Dublin, I read one powerful slogan there in front of the college. It stated, good teachers makes a difference to the class. A great teacher makes a difference to the world. And in the process, I think Professor Satish Dhawan has really produced the students and researchers of world-class standing and stature. Apart from being very sound in theoretical concepts, he excelled in his extraordinary enthusiasm for experimental studies, ever willing to work with the technicians also. In the process, I think he epitomized the golden statement, an ounce of practical is better than a ton of theory. As his research mentor, Dr. Lipman was the first person to experimentally measure the screen friction as a part of boundary layer studies, and Dr. Lipman termed it as a technical and fundamental importance. He also built the nation's first supersonic wind tunnel. In the process, he exhibited his ingenuity to avoid all the existing or spare resources rather than demanding exclusive ones. In this way, I think he also emulated the statement which normally we don't hear about our former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. He once stated, the technological and scientific advancement of a country should not be relied upon the unlimited resource and infrastructure. It should be through a careful and planned strategic thinking and planning. He is considered as a father of experimental fluid dynamics research in the country, and he exhibited unusual maturity in tackling both scientific and human problems. This is the statement by Dr. Lichtman. He had a rare mix of many valuable attributes of great teacher, researcher, scientist, technologist, academic leader, and administrator, institution builder, mentor, and a loving friend. Probably hallmark of his career has been not only the choice of mix of the various attributes that he inculcated, but also the choice of their proportion as well to meet the ever-varying, diversified and daunting nature of his duties, as well as his responsibility, which he shared so cheerfully. Of course, in USA, there are two serials for children actually. One is most of us have heard of that Barney and Friends, and other equally appealing and soothing is Raja's Neighborhood actually. So in one of the episodes, when I was watching with my son, there was a telling statement that every one of us is unique, and there can be no one like you. Okay. So when that statement can hold to any ordinary being, definitely there can be only one Satish Dhawan, and it will be very difficult to visualize one more Satish Dhawan, even though all of us want like that actually. For generations to come, he will be an inspiration, and he has set and left a lasting legacy, which his followers will find it very difficult to emulate, but surely they will be inspired by Professor Satish Dhawan. With these few brief remarks about Satish Dhawan, let me revert back to the formal welcome address. For this centenary celebration, we have two distinguished scientists who had the rare distinction of working with Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Dr. Professor Satish Dhawan, as well as Dr. Kalam. They had a very, very close interaction with all the three for many years, probably for many decades. Dr. Vyas Rajan is here, and he will be sharing his interaction with Professor Satish Dhawan, what he termed as Professor Satish Dhawan in my memory lane. Definitely, he will bring out many of the things which may not be on record actually. On behalf of our university and all the participants of this function, it's my great pleasure to welcome Dr. Vyas Rajan for this centenary celebration. Welcome, sir. Also have Dr. A.S. Pillai. He also, like Vyas Rajan, had worked with all the three greats actually. So all of them are associated with the space science. And Dr. A.S. Pillai is also currently member of our board of governors, and also he is a mentor for one of our project on electric propulsion. Again, on behalf of our university, my colleagues, and all the participants of this function, it is my great pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Pillai. We are also very fortunate to have our Chief Executive, Local Education Foundation Medical, Sri Srinivas Murthy. Despite many preoccupation and busy schedule, he has been here, and definitely will mention that he was also part of ISRO during his service as an IAS officer. Definitely he will make a mention about it. I think on behalf of our university and all the participants of this function, again I welcome our CEGF Medical, Sri Srinivas Murthy, for this function. May I request Dr. Narahari to welcome Sri Srinivas Murthy to the program.
Thank you.
I also welcome my colleague, Dr. Sundaresh. Of course, he is a orthopedic surgeon, but a keen learner and a keen propagator of knowledge. Again, on behalf of all the participants and my colleagues, again, I welcome Dr. Sundaresh. Now, my request for Dr. Shuprakasham to welcome Dr. Sundaresh. We also have Dr. Sai Baba, who is our registrar and also a distinguished scientist. And on behalf of my colleagues here and all the participants, I extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Sai Baba. Now may I request Dr. Raja, who is the head of aerospace engineering, to welcome me to the expert. Also, it's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to delegates and students who have shown keen interest to participate in this celebration. Again, on my personal behalf and on behalf of the university, I welcome the delegates and the students to this function. Last but not least, again, it's my privilege to again welcome all my colleagues to participate in this inaugural function, and the secretaries are to follow with these remarks. Again, it is befitting, and also that we are fortunate enough to have such a distinguished speakers, and we are having such a keen interest. Definitely, Professor Satish Dhawan will be proud of the keenness and interest that we are showing towards his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome speech and giving a brief sketch of great personality like Professor Dhawan. Now I request our dean, Dr. Rajshekar Swami, to do the Prof's. Due to some urgent meetings, our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Yama Jairam, is unable to attend the lecture today. But however, he has sent his wishes to the function. Now I request our Chief Executive, Sri M.R. Srinivas Murthy, to do opening remarks as well as the presidential address. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. I thought it was a great honor to be asked to participate in the function celebrating the centenary of Dr. Satish Dhawan. I now have the other honor of reading out our chairman and our chancellor's address as well. At the outset, let me congratulate Ramaya University of Applied Sciences for deciding to celebrate the centenary of one of those great scientists which our country has been fortunate to have. I would first read excerpts from the speech of our Honorable Chairman and then add a few remarks of my own. Our Chairman's speech says, respected distinguished centenary speakers of today, Dr. Y.S. Rajan ji, Dr. E. Shivadhana Pillai ji, and my beloved colleagues, Dr. Kadambi, Acting Vice Chancellor, Dr. Sundaresh, Pro Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Sai Baba, Registrar of Ramaya University of Applied Sciences. It is my great privilege to preside over the centenary celebrations of Professor Satish Dhawan today. Indian science considers Professor Satish Dhawan as the father of experimental fluid dynamics research, who led the successful indigenous development of the Indian Space Research Program. Professor Dhawan is a scientist, teacher, and leader who carried out pioneering experiments in rural education, remote sensing, and satellite communications. His efforts led to operational systems like INSAT, a telecommunications satellite, IRS, a remote sensing satellite, and the Polar satellite launch vehicle that placed India in the League of Spacefaring Nations. He succeeded as the Director of Indian Institute of Science in 1962 and the third Chairman of ISRO in 1972, truly demonstrating a multitasking leadership act. Although Professor Dhawan was heading the Indian Space Research Program, he devoted substantial efforts towards boundary layer research at the Indian Institute of Science in parallel. Professor Dhawan set up the country's first supersonic wind tunnel at Indian Institute of Science. I'm happy to note that the Department of Aerospace Engineering, in association with the Research Division, is organizing the centenary celebrations of Professor Satish Dhawan, enlightening his inspirational leadership and thought-provoking decision-making abilities. I'm sure the centenary talks from the stalwarts of Indian space science like Dr. Rajan and Dr. Pillai shall motivate the budding and aspiring engineers to aim big and dream wide. I strongly recommend and endorse that there is need for universities as well as higher education institutions across India to educate and publicize the great as well as eloquent leadership of such eminent scientists for our young generations. By virtue of this type of centenary events, higher education institutions are sowing seeds among young and creative minds to contribute towards the nation building exercise for the benefit of society and mankind. I am happy to note that the Ramaya University community will engage in such type of events to publicize the seminal works of eminent scientists across all domains and boost faculty as well as students' morale. To conclude, today's centenary celebration has the distinguished speakers of national acclaim and international fame with rich experience in industry, academia, and R&D organizations. I wish the Department of Aerospace Engineering all the best and thank all the participants from other academic institutions, defense establishments, and industries. Thank you. That was our chairman's address. I'm happy to add a couple of remarks of my own on this occasion. Well, doctors, I have several times mentioned whenever I had occasion to participate in RUAS functions that the very physical location of our campus is something very, very different and very unique. We are nestled between the Indian Institute of Science, the Space Research Organization, National Institute of Advanced Studies, and Raman Research Institute, and such eminent institutions, which are institutions of not only national eminence, but global eminence. And added to that, your Pune campus is also very close to some of the ISRO establishments here. Many years ago, I think it was in 1991, 30 years ago, when I joined the Indian Space Research Organization as controller of ISRO Satellite Center, the first place I visited on the very first day of my joining service there was the ISTRAC Satellite Tracking Center here at Pune. So I'm sure most of you are aware of these wonderful establishments which brought the landscape of Bangalore city. And I hope we should not only draw inspiration from that, we should get involved in some of their activities. And if that doesn't happen to our faculty and our students, it would be a loss of opportunity. It will be a very unfortunate thing. People from all over the country come to work in these establishments. And if we, who have only a wall separating our campus and these establishments, do not make use of it, it would be a great pity. I'm very happy that the university is celebrating this centenary of a great personality who added so much to the fame of both the Indian Institute of Science and the Indian Space Research Organization. I had occasion to meet Dr. Dhawan only once or twice during my stint in the Space Research Organization. And first time I met him when I was introduced as the controller of the satellite center, he said, Mr. Murthy, I hope you won't control our scientists too much. He just joked and made me feel comfortable in his company and spent a few minutes, talking to me and encouraging me and, giving that element of enthusiasm that was required for a civil servant to go into a scientific establishment and deal with people who were of a very, very different kind of background. My stint in the ISRO showed me that even though by then Dr. Satish Dhawan had ceased to be chairman of ISRO and Space Commission, the stamp that he had left on the organization was so strong. And the same ethos that he had built up in that organization had continued. Dr. U.R. Rao was then the chairman and Dr. Kasturi Rangan was the director of the Satellite Center. One remarkable thing I noticed in that establishment was the absolute freedom each one enjoyed in the matter of expressing views. The absolute sense of equality that all of them had in their social relations. The apparent absence of hierarchical structure in the functioning of the space research organization. Whenever I participated in review programs chaired by Professor U.R. Rao, scientists, they have this categorization of scientists A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all that, G being the highest or close to being highest. So, notwithstanding the alphabetical grade of these people, the junior-most scientist could fearlessly express his views on any matter under discussion relating to the functioning of a satellite or functioning of a space vehicle. That kind of culture is what has made ISRO a great organization. And mind you, in a very hierarchical system like this, Space Commission had chairman of ISRO as the chairman of the Space Commission, Cabinet Secretary to Government of India as only a member, Finance Secretary to Government of India only as a member, and this kind of a culture where people have total freedom in discussing matters academic and scientific, regardless of what their rank, what their background, is something that great scientists like Professor Satish Dhawan have built up in our scientific organizations. And even my interactions with great people like Dr. Abdul Kalam during that period also showed me that they were also unassuming kind of people, even though they were great personalities. Now that's a culture which in the academic institutions we could perhaps try and inculcate so that there is this celebration of academic freedom and the spirit of inquiry, which is so essential for carrying on research to stimulate search for knowledge. It is because of this kind of ability of leaders in those organizations. Leaders, who is a good leader after all? A good leader is not a person who does great things by himself. A good leader is a great leader is a person who gets everybody else, who capitalizes on everybody's ability to perform, to get a task performed. So that can happen if everybody is made to contribute. That's something that can happen only if everybody is given that freedom and that respect, that encouragement. And I think this is I'm a non-scientific kind of person, so to say. I don't know background of science, education. So therefore, I cannot really speak about Dr. Satish Dhawan's boundary relay experiments or other kind of scientific achievements. But the impact that he had left on ISRO as a leader, as a human being, as an academic, is what I could sense during my brief stint in the Space Research Organization. And that is how, because they were able to put together the energies of so many talented people, even those days, I'm talking 30 years ago, a poor country, we were considered a poor country. And some people would like to avoid the word poor. So they would call us a developing country. Now, of course, we have other, adjectives being used to describe our country. But then we were certainly considered a poor country in the Committee of Nations. But we were trying to be on par with very advanced countries like, US or other advanced countries, who had done so much of scientific work, particularly in the field of space research. That is how ISRO has gone from strength to strength, from their fairly unassuming Bhaskara satellite and SLVs and ASLVs and PSLVs and GSLVs, all these things. Now they are talking of Chandrayaan, Mangalyaan. In fact, when Mangalyaan took place a few months ago, I think last year, I was in the US and there was a television program on the US television, or probably it was BBC or CNN. They were saying how much money ISRO had spent on this Mangalyaan, which was a successful one. First attempt successful. They quantified the expenditure and said it was less than 1/10 of the money that NASA had spent on a similar venture earlier. And that was possible, and entirely due to the dedicated efforts of our scientists, led initially by people like Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Dhawan, Professor Rao, and later on Dr. Rangan, and all the great people. So all that I'm trying to emphasize is that we need to develop that sort of a culture in an academic institution like this. And I'm sure this occasion and the very learned orations that you will have from Dr. Rajan, Dr. Pillai, and Dr. Narhari and others today will help you develop that kind of a spirit of adventure and that culture of equality, and which will enable you to scale great heights. I would like to wish each and every one of you all the very best in the new year also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable talk as well as giving the insights of ISRO working. Even though you are also very humble, looking at your detail, we can see that even though your degree is from Master of Arts in Political Science, Economics and Rural Development, you have been the retired IAS officer, served as chairman of the 6th State Pay Commission of Karnataka and as the chairman of Karnataka Electricity Regulatory Commission. Along with that, you were also holding several positions of Government of Karnataka and central government, including Additional Chief Secretary, Finance Department and Principal Secretary, Rural Development, Government of Karnataka. So we can see that various positions you held, including you were the Commissioner of Bangalore City Corporation, Principal Secretary, Election Commission of India, and of course, the very important Controller, ISRO Satellite Center, which is very apt for today's function. So Department of Space of Government of India. So we are indeed very fortunate to hear from you some insights about ISRO working style and why it is one of the #1 government institutions we always consider because of the stalwarts which were there earlier. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I want to add, we are indeed fortunate. We had some 3 to 4, at least 3 to 5 projects from ISRO. So we have some sponsored projects also from ISRO. So what you had told earlier, so we are also trying for different projects. Thank you, sir.
Good.
Yeah. So now I would like to invite Professor M. Sai Baba, our Honorable Registrar, to propose vote of thanks. So Professor M. Sai Baba is an outstanding scientist and formerly Director Resources Management Group, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, IGCAR Kalpakkam, and Senior Professor, Homi Bhabha National Institute, Dean of Student Affairs, and Coordinating Dean of HBNI at IGCAR. Prior to joining Ramaya University of Applied Sciences, Professor Sai Baba was holding the position of T.V. Raman Pai Chair Professor at National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bengaluru, and working in the domains of science communication and risk communication, human reliability program, and understanding ancient Indian knowledge systems for applying them for the holistic development of youth. I think sir wants to take. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Srikari, for introduction and telling about few words. It's like a function at home. I thought we should be brief when we talk about ourselves. First of all, let me thank Professor Kadambi for inviting me to be part of this. In a way, this is my first formal function at the UAS after taking over. I've been coming and meeting many of you. Look forward to meeting you more and to know more about it. It's I'm happy that the occasion is to celebrate Professor Satish Dhawan. I think Professor Kadambi very nicely introduced about what, very brief, though he said briefly, but very apt things that he told about Professor Satish Dhawan. I come from the atomic energy background. In a way, space is like, he's a elder son, went out and started his independent family. We are all together for long years. The leadership was, seeds of leadership was sown together at the atomic energy by Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai, and then moved on. That way it's appropriate that I belong to this family in a way. I think it's important, I think Professor Kadambi said, he's a teacher, researcher, more importantly, a mentor to students, and provided extraordinary leadership both to academic institutes and an R&D organization. I think we all celebrate people, success, life and journey of eminent people like Professor Satish Dhawan. Since some of the young students are going to be listening to this and would be listening to the remaining talks, I think it's important to, when you're celebrating success, it's an opportunity to learn how they could achieve such eminence and how could they do many things. Otherwise, it's only celebration. It ends with a celebration. I think celebration is an opportunity to look back and see how they could do that. I think Mr. Srinivas Murthy told that it was done when India was considered to be poor. I'm sure that it was supposed to be struggling to survive, struggling to feed the people. I think so. That is the way. I think it's extraordinary leadership provided by these people. We need to really look at it so that you don't complain about things which you don't have today. We have far things than what our ancestors had. It's also important to think, India is fast approaching 75th year independence soon, and then celebrating centenary celebrations of eminent people like Satish Dhawan. We celebrated that of Vikram Sarabhai. That also worries us that are we living in the past or are we looking for new leaders? I think we need to celebrate every success. I think by celebrating these eminent people, let us also celebrate people who are providing leadership now. In a way that the celebrations are to times to introspect, look back and see how we could be successful, and set goals for us to look forward and how we can achieve. I'm sure new sets of students have joined this university a few days back formally. I'm sure that you are the right place who can at least start by these people, our teachers and the leadership.
So let me formally thank, first of all, I think it's a nice idea that we're celebrating this birthday. That itself shows that we want to, we care about what we inherited. So that way, I think the university deserves appreciation for thinking about organizing such an event. And also Professor Kadambi for his nice words. He has a very nice back. I'm realizing listening to him. He brings the cartoons, he brings somehow some quotations, and add the context to the thing. So thank you, Professor Kadambi, for leading this program. Our Chancellor could not be here, but you could see that he is there through his words and through all of us. I think we should thank him for a very nice message. And of course, Srinivas. You know, normally there's a very skill which all administrative officers have. They get trained how to understand quickly. I think that's the skill which they train. I think 1 year they spent at Kusuri to help them to quickly get grasped it. No wonder when he met the Satish Dhawan for a short time. That's why he don't control the scientists. The researchers don't want to be controlled. And I think I'm sure that he learned over a period of time. Tremendous administrative experience, and now with our foundation and providing leadership to us. Thank you, Srinivas, for nice words and being here and also enhancing the value of the function. Well, I think I should also thank Dr. Rajan, whom I had opportunity of interacting a couple of times, and also Dr. Sudan Pillai, for agreeing to be delivering this lecture. Of course, Professor Kadambi would change his hat after the break and then he will deliver his lecture as a first lecture about Satish Dhawan, inspiration. I'm sure that Satish Dhawan, there are a lot to learn, to be inspired, and a lot to look back in the memory line which Mr. Rajan, Dr. Rajan is going to share with us. I think very rarely you get to hear from people who have worked with them. I think one is to read about them, other is to be there with them, who have lived with them, worked with them. Same is the case with Dr. Sultan. So I'm happy that we should thank them for agreeing to be delivering this lecture on this occasion. And I thank all those who are organizing this function, Dr. Sanad and his colleagues, also Professor Srinivas for compiling this. So let's hope that these deliberations will lead to inspiration for our faculty and some young researchers who are joining. I think today evening we're going to talk to them, the young researchers who are joining, and the students. I think it's important to celebrate success, learn, and then travel in the path of success, so that sometime, maybe 50 years from now or 30 years from now, somebody else will talk about the journey you made. So let this university be the place where foundations for the success are made. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
With this, we are concluding the inaugural session. Now I request everybody to raise for the national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
So, sir, there's back. Oh, I have a good watch.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we will start with the talks on Satish Dhawan. So we are starting with the Centenary talks. I now request our Honorable Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Inaugural, to address the gathering on Satish Dhawan and inspiration. So, you know, Professor Govinda Academy is the Acting Vice Chancellor and Pro Vice Chancellor Research of MS Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences. Prior to this, he was the Dean of MS Ramaiah School of Advanced Studies, which is now a part of MS Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences. He graduated from University of Mysore with BE degree in Electronics and Communications Engineering. He pursued the research for his MS and PhD degrees with specialization in antenna engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. Professor Govinda Academy has been granted 22 US patents and has filed several more patent applications. He has authored or co-authored more than 50 research publications in peer-reviewed international journals as well as conferences. He also served as a reviewer for IEEE transactions on antennas and propagation. He was session chair and invited speaker at several international conferences abroad. He has over 30 years of experience involving research, technology development, and economics. He has been associated with various academic institutions, R&D labs in India and abroad. He has been the principal investigator and co-principal investigator for a number of sponsored research projects. His current research interests are focused on antennas, computational electromagnetics, digital beamforming, and signal processing for wireless communication, mobile ad hoc networks, adaptive techniques in communication engineering, optic flow techniques, and cognitive radio technology. Professor Govinda Academy is listed in Marquis Who is Who in the World, Marquis Who is Who in Science and Engineering, Marquis Who is Who in Asia, and Dictionary of International Biography, Cambridge, England. So I welcome Dr. Kadambi to give the talks.
Thank you, Dr. Shikari. Good morning, and respected Dr. Y.S. Rajan and Dr. S. Pule, dear colleagues and students and delegates. Of course, my interaction with Professor Satish Dhawan was minimal. I had only one opportunity to see him in IIT Madras convocations, in which he was honored with this Doctor of Science honoris causa. But I had the privilege and opportunity of meeting several of his students, colleagues, and very close colleagues like Dr. Y.S. Rajan, Dr. Pillai, and many others, of course. So what I'm going to share with you is more with what is available in various forms of open domain information, and some based on my close conversation or interaction with some of Professor Satish Dhawan's students or his very close colleagues. I know that we are delayed by a couple of minutes, but nonetheless, I think that is an occasion where I think more is less. More we talk, how much more we talk about such people, it is continues to be less. So we'll try to keep up the time to the extent possible, instead of cutting short the allotted time to speak up to the extent possible. So during the next 30 minutes, I will try to cover Professor Satish Dhawan's career life and lasting legacy through his college education, research in US University, initial years at IISc, the directorship of IISc, then parallel track career, which I was mentioning earlier at IISc in ISRO, international award, lasting impressions about Professor Satish Dhawan and lasting legacy. So the term we have used the word inspiration. I think both Dr. Pillai also has used the word inspiration in the Professor talk. So just to mention now that is why we have not chosen the word motivation, why we have used the word inspiration. Probably that might be some justification actually. Even though we use the two words interchangeably, but they are distinctly different if you go through the purest sense actually. The term inspiration refers to an influencing or arousing process for stimulating people mentally and emotionally to do something creative and extraordinary. It is having an enduring desire to achieve it. And it is a process of continual interest and commitment, and it generates spontaneous impulse, and it comes naturally. That is, an inspiration is natural and organic. And inspiration is what pulls us towards something, while motivation is something that impels our pursuit to take an action. So inspiration is a sense of excitement and effortlessness. So as there is a great difference between thankful and grateful, there is an equally compelling difference between inspiration and motivation. From all measures, I think that inspiration is enduring actually. So we want inspiration. Of course, we require motivation, but I think in this present context, I think we need to concentrate on the inspiration that Professor Satish Dhawan brought throughout his career and life. So he was born on 25th September 1920 in Srinagar. As I told in my opening remarks, so he had his BA in Physics and Mathematics in 1938, MA in English Literature in 1941, and B with honors in Mechanical Engineering 1945 from Punjab University. At that time it was in Lahore. So the various combination is really many of the people who are associated with him. They are always amused at why Professor Satish Dhawan had this unusual combination of degrees. In fact, I told about the diversity, but regarding this college education, I'm compelled to remind Subhashita what we studied in our high school or 8th grade. Actually. So the Sanskrit says something like that. Yastu sancharate deshan, yastu seveta panditan, tasya vistaritam buddhi, saila binduram busi. That means a paraphrase meaning of it is those who travel widely, those who adore knowledge and knowledgeable, their wisdom spreads like a drop of oil in water actually. That means the spread and rapidity of the spread of oil in water is enormous actually. Probably this unusual combination of his early education actually has probably might have helped Professor Satish Dhawan in various phases in his life. That's all I can say. And afterwards, he had a short stint in HAL, particularly working in workshop. And Professor Satish Dhawan used to always call it with a lot of pride and proudness that his HAL experience was of tremendous utility in his career. Now coming back to the research in US universities on a Government of India scholarship at that time. So he pursued his MS in Aeronautical Engineering, University of Minnesota, Minneapolis in 1947. And then from Minnesota, he changed and he planned to pursue his further research at Caltech, California Institute of Technology, which I think apart from crane field is one of the foremost in devoted to aerospace. So he pursued his MS in Aeronautical Engineering again in California Institute of Technology in 1949. And also he had his double PhD essays, mathematics and aeronautics under the supervision of his illustrious mentor, H.W. Lippmann in 1951. And for his MS thesis in Caltech, now he worked on the design and use of a flexible nozzle for the gaseous transonic tunnel in June of 1949. And this GALCIT stands for Graduate Aerospace Laboratories of the California Institute of Technology. And for his PhD, of course, it was entitled as Direct Measurement of Skin Friction in 1951. And during PhD days itself, Dr. Dhawan great ingenuity led to development of a device to measure the local skin friction on a flat plate. It was a 2D study. He measured the force exerted upon a minute movable part of the plate by means of a reactant device, that is LVDT. And device was then used to make accurate measurements in the subsonic, transonic, and supersonic flow, which covered both the laminar and the turbulent flow. Earlier focus of the researchers till that time was on wave drag and induced drag. And for the first time, I think the group consisting of Lippmann, Rothko, and Dr. Satish Dhawan, they diverted their focus to skin friction and boundary layer. And till the work of Professor Satish Dhawan, there were many theoretical estimates for the skin friction, but no one had measured directly until Professor Satish Dhawan devised an experimental operation. So that means even in PhD days, his thrust and his skill for experiment was evident actually. This, according to his mentor, Dr. Lippmann, was of both fundamental and direct technical importance. And some of us may not be aware that his entry into Professor Satish Dhawan, that is Professor Satish Dhawan entry to CIT itself was, we can say by chance, a missed opportunity or almost a missed opportunity. Because according to Dr. Lippmann, he has quoted enough as a part of the obituary of Professor Satish Dhawan. I am amused about the bifurcation points in one life, wrote Lippmann, recalling this episode in his obituary of Professor Satish Dhawan, the times when a small and sometimes even unwelcome choice of alternative results in many changes in one's future. One of these bifurcations in, I believe, 1946 resulted in my meeting Satish Dhawan. The reason why he told was actually there was Dr. Kirin, if I pronounced it properly, who was in charge of graduate studies in Caltech. Dr. Lippmann's experience with some of the earlier students with Satish Dhawan was not really very encouraging. He felt that some of the students from India, they are not very much keen to do the manual work of going to the laboratory and spending a lot of time, and probably they also felt that there was not that much of intellectual drive and curiosity actually. So he had told his that graduate coordinator, no onwards, I don't want to spend any time with the Indian students. But Dr. Lippmann also admitted that Dr. Kirin, if I'm pronouncing properly, he had the instinct actually. So whenever they used to discuss about the potential of a student, there used to be some disagreement between Dr. Lippmann and the coordinator of that. Dr. Lippmann always admitted that Dr. Inni was always right in gauging the future potential of a student. So when Dr. Satish Dhawan did meet that graduate coordinator of Caltech, that Caltech graduate coordinator did meet Dr. Lippmann, and he said, your experience was maybe slightly different. Here is a bright student. Please have a time and try to discuss with him. So Dr. Lippmann came down to second floor. I don't know which floor he was staying, till he says, and he met Dr. Satish Dhawan. And within a couple of days of Professor Satish Dhawan joining the Caltech group, he admitted that now we have got an association of outstanding student actually. So this is what I said was something probably many of us may not be aware. So Dr. Lippmann went on to say, Satish was immediately accepted and respected by this highly competent and proud group of young scientists. He showed an unusual maturity in judging both scientific and human problems, a characteristic that today is called leadership quality. He went on to say, Satish could be tough without having to get mad first. A trait that these are the exact words from his mentor, with whom had a lasting collaboration for nearly 50 years. So this only shows the character and the brilliance of Professor Satish Dhawan, even during PhD cases. So Dr. Rothko, Dr. Satish Dhawan, and Dr. Lippmann worked together on a problem in shockwave boundary layer interaction. This was Professor Satish Dhawan's first participation in active research. It was a marvelous time also. And Dhawan, people may not be aware, there is an interesting turn in Professor Dhawan in Caltech also. According to Dr. Lippmann, Dr. Dhawan had to return to India in such a hurry that he could not even finish the introduction to this thesis. which like any other good researcher, he had left it to be done last actually. Dr. Lippmann said it due to bureaucracy. Probably, I don't know what is meant by bureaucracy. It might have some. Dr. Lippmann finished it for him, that means finished that introductory portion of the thesis for him, which led to another funny incident. One of the faculty members of Caltech, reading the rough draft of the thesis, got Dr. Lippmann complaining that in the introduction, Dhawan had not mentioned and acknowledged Dr. Lippmann as his thesis supervisor, because Dr. Lippmann wrote the introduction, probably he felt embarrassing to write that he is the supervisor, probably that was a mistake. So Dr. Lippmann had to add a remark to this effect. So after the report came out, Dr. Lippmann showed it to Sir Jeffrey Taylor, who visited it, and he showed and explained Professor Satish Dhawan's work. So Lippmann, Dr. Lippmann, Dr. Roshko and Dhawan, Dr. Dhawan worked together and demonstrated the importance of the state of the boundary layer, that is laminar versus doublet on resulting shockwave pattern and pressure distribution. And the intimate academic collaboration and their friendship nearly lasted more than 50 years between Dr. Lippmann, Dr. Roshko and Dr. Dhawan. Then coming back to initial years at IIC, after his return from Caltech, he joined IIC in the year 1951 as a senior scientific officer. And in the year 1955, he rose to the rank of professor and HOD in that same year. And throughout his career, we can see the influence of Caltech and Dr. Lippmann on his career. It was highly visible. Dr. Satish Dhawan is considered to be the father of experimental fluid dynamics. He continued where he left after reaching India and established the nation's first supersonic wind tunnel in IIC. And he did pioneering work in experimental fluid dynamics with a small but a moderate group of strength. And he pursued relamination of separated boundary layer flow, relamination of boundary layer, and transonic flow, and published papers given from IIC in the initial stay of his in IIC in Journal of Fluid Mechanics, which is considered to be one of the foremost in fluid dynamics and fluid mechanics. And his contributions to boundary layers have appeared in a seminal book, that is Boundary Layer Theory by Hermann Schlichting. And about his teaching, another legend, Professor Rodam Narasimha, who passed very recently, he wrote about Professor Satish Dhawan teaching in his earlier years. Dhawan's lectures were advanced, simple and elegant, all at the same time, and quickly gave students a sense of context that was very important. Students liked these classes very much indeed, and for a variety of reasons. The first of this was Professor Satish Dhawan's general cheerfulness in his approach to the subject as well as to the subject or to the students. He took his teaching very seriously and supplied his classes with plenty of notes, data sheets, diagram, and so on. And he worked on all this. One would often see him in his office late at night, and he expected the student to work just as hard, which many of them cheerfully did. Another reason for the great popularity of his classes, last but not least, as they say, was that of if he was convinced that the student has understood what was going on, he was generous with grades too. Okay. So an example of his humility and his ethics can be found when he published a paper in Journal of Aeronautical Society of India, volume 7, page 1 to 17, 1955. The title of the paper is Design and Operation of 1 inch by 3 inch intermittent supersonic tunnel, which appeared in the Journal of Aeronautical Society of India. If you read the acknowledgement, that tells the character of Professor Satish Dhawan. He acknowledged Mr. Krishna Swami was instrumental in initiating it, but he has clearly mentioned in that acknowledgement column. He could not be there when the subcomponents were arrived, but his contribution is really acknowledged. Apart from that, Professor Satish Dhawan was so grateful and he was so polite, said this could not have been achieved due to the tremendous sacrifice and the workmanship of the people who are there in the departmental workshop. So even though he was a professor, he was a senior professor, he had the humility and that ethics to even to acknowledge explicitly the contributions made by even the workshop technicians and supervisors. That is greatness. So, as a director of IAC, at the age of 42, he assumed the charge of director of IAC in 1963 after Professor Surya Bhagwantam, who was the director of IAC from 1957 to 1962. And as I mentioned in my previous remark, that a meteoric rise from senior scientific officer in 1951 to director in 1963, and his directorship of 1963 to 1981 is definitely the longest service as a director by any government HES, at a higher education institute in India. And despite the directorship of IIC, Professor Satish Dhawan visited high-speed aerodynamics lab, and he was constantly interacting with the students and his people who are there in the workshop and the lab actually. And even though that is, he did the pioneering work and was the first person to measure that skin friction in 2D in Caltech, he continued where he left in IIC. Actually, he's the last student, Dr. P.S. Prahlad, who happened to be our division head in IIT, in ADM Bangalore. Actually, that was both Dr. Prahlad and Dr. Satish Dhawan. They extended the earlier work in Caltech in IIC. So they converted that 2D measurement of the previous flat plate to 3D bodies. Actually, that only shows how intense he was. Correct now, even though he was in a different place, different environment, actually, what he could do in Caltech, he also was able to do even in IIC, even being as a director with so many preoccupations, actually. So during his tenure as director of IIC, through his foresight and vision, expanded its academic scope by introducing very many new disciplines like automation and control, material science, molecular biology, biophysics, computer science, theoretical physics, applied mathematics, solid state chemistry, atmospheric sciences, actually. So why I'm stating that is, there's always a tendency or a fear of tendency that whenever somebody takes up for the ownership of that leading an organization, inherently there might be a fear that that person brings with him or her that particular inherent bias towards a particular discipline. So even though Professor Satish Dhawan basically aerospace scientist or an experimental fluid dynamics research, but you see in IIC, correct, okay, not only the aerospace department grew in leaps and bounds, but had enough vision and enough strategy to develop many other disciplines which have nothing to do with it. That only shows is but magnanimity and pragmatic appeal to very many other disciplines. And I would fail in to say that is, even though we know that is how he was so active till the end. So one of the, when I happened to meet Professor Narasimha in his office on a couple of occasions earlier to meet him and to invite him for one of the functions that we organized in June or July of 2018. So at that time, Professor Narasimha was kind enough to tell some of his interaction with Professor Satish Dhawan. And in that interaction with Professor Satish Dhawan, he told about how Professor Satish Dhawan used to conduct the review meetings of the findings of our committee. Our company, I know, is an aircraft. Somewhere in the mid-60s, actually, the pilots of Indian Airlines at that time were using this Avro. They were apprehensive about the possibility of a crash like that because they found that there was with passage of time, there was a dip or reduction in the rate of climb actually. So DGCA appointed a single-man committee or one-man committee with Professor Satish Dhawan to look into that actually, why that there is a dip in the climb rate. And Professor Satish Dhawan did constitute a small group of engineers involving the Professor Narasimha, Professor Einstein, and some more scientists from aerospace, and also HL and other things. Because it was going very late in the evening, actually, some of the review meetings were past the midnight, actually. So that means, despite being director of IIC, he had the time to really spend so much time for even intricate details. Then the year came as between the year 1972 to 1981. That is what we can say illustrious career of Professor Satish Dhawan. Many want to call it a parallel track career actually. So during this period, in fact, prior to becoming this parallel track career, during 1971-72, Dr. Satish Dhawan was a visiting professor at Caltech on a sabbatical leave. While being there, that was Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the father of our Indian space program, unexpectedly passed away on 13th December 1971. Definitely it created a sudden leadership vacuum in the nascent program. Then the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, requested Dr. Satish Dhawan to take over the reins actually. At that time, he agreed to shoulder the responsibility of the Indian space program, and Dr. Satish Dhawan was instrumental in setting up Space Commission, which is a policy making body, Department of Space, which is an administrative of the Government of India, and ISRO, which is Science and Technology Agency. And on a token salary of about rupees one per month, Professor Satish Dhawan became the chairman of ISRO and the chairman of Indian Space Commission, Indian Space Organization also. And he was a director of ISC and chairman of ISRO between 1972 to 1981. That means it was a blend of academics, space science, space technology, space application. Definitely how we managed the gruel responsibility, commitment, and promise to the nation. It involves a lot of money, complex technological challenges, international partnership for satellite building and satellite launch, development of infrastructure, development centers for build of satellites, launch vehicle, and other technology for self-reliance. So what was his vision for space program? I'm sure Dr. Y.S. Rajan and Dr. Pillai will definitely speak of it. Just to mention, Dhawan wanted the space program to have a sustainable national relevance with the close interface with end user, space technology for the development of Indian society, a constant and persistent passion for the upliftment of the poorest, poor and the needy, with a humane protective cover provided by space technology, deep sense of ethics and social justice, and he always considered the available technical expertise, infrastructure, landscape and launch schedule, and the availability of funds whenever he formulated any program. And the significant contributions of Professor Satish Dhawan during his ISRO days led the ISRO through difficult formative days and was instrumental in every success of ISRO. Failures did not decrease confidence and vision. Was an outstanding leader at all times, had a very deep understanding of the requirements of various programs, both ongoing and futuristic, conscious of pragmatism and viability. He inculcated that project mode in ISRO, which led to very good public appreciation. Under his leadership, ISRO blossomed as one of the finest organizations, government organization, and for others to emulate. And probably he and Dr. Rajan, they came out with the scheme of respond projects in ISRO, and he had a copious and generous funding for R&D. He insisted and he fostered the very close interaction between ISRO and academia, and steady and consistent improvement of India as an international space power was evident through many successes. Polar satellite launch vehicle, that PSLV, the dependable workhorse of ISRO, was definitely his contribution, and created an excellent technological roadmap for future leaders of ISRO. No doubt that Dr. Satish Dhawan had many international awards and fellows. He was a fellow of Royal Aeronautical Society. He was a fellow of US National Academy of Engineers. Was also a fellow of Indian National Science Academy, and he was a fellow of American Academy of Arts and Science. He had numerous national awards, Padma Bhushan in 1971, Padma Vibhushan in 1981, Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration in 1999, and setting him as one of our foremost scientists, teachers, and national builders. And he was awarded many honorary doctorates from various universities. Just to mention Greenfield Institute of Technology UK and IIT Madras, which I really witnessed also. Dr. Satish Dhawan left lasting impression with whomever was in touch and contact, either for a short time or long period. Professor Lippmann in his office at Caltech in early 1980 was curious to ask how he chose students from India. And Dr. Lippmann's response was remarkably simple. He said he knew very little about the Indian education systems, therefore had no particular method. But if Satish makes a recommendation, we don't ask questions, we simply accept the person. That is the standing and the reputation Dr. Satish Dhawan had left with his mentors even at Caltech actually. And Dr. Kalam and Professor Dhawan, Dr. Kalam was a great admirer of Professor Satish Dhawan. he wrote the unique feature of his teaching was that he created a spirit of research and inquiry in me and taught me how to design without giving me design. Then Dr. Kasturirangan, former chairman of ISRO, wrote about Prof. Satish Dhawan, a rare human being of his kind, a lovable teacher, an intensive researcher, an innovative technologist, an able institution builder, and an excellent academic administrator, all at the same time, but distinctly visible. Just to sum up this illustrious career and doctorate legacy, again I am recapping: 1951 Senior Scientific Officer IISc, 1955 Professor and Head of the Department of Aeronautical Engineering, 1963 to 1981 Director of IISc, 1971 to 72 California Institute of Technology as a Visiting Professor, 1972 to 1982 Chairman ISRO, 1984 to 1993 actually either member or chairman of as a chairman of Research Council NAL, and from 1972 to 2002 either he was a chairman or a member of the Space Commission for nearly 30 years actually. So Professor Satish Dhawan passed away on January 3rd, 2002 at the age of 82. Dr. H. Lipman passed away on 24 June 2009, and Dr. Roscoe passed away on 23rd January 2007 at the age of 93. Why comparing? These three had a tremendous international collaboration and thing for which lasted nearly for about 50 years or more than 50 years. And definitely every nation wants scientists and leaders like Professor Satish Dhawan. So also we want. But can anybody match the reach, stretch, strength, tenacity, urge, distinguished and long tenures, multifaceted personality, brilliance, practical orientation, scientific temperament, cool, poised, cheerful, and ever composed stature of Professor Satish Dhawan? So many times, all we need is hand to hold, ear to listen, and heart to speak. Throughout his career, Professor Satish Dhawan did the same so admirably and consistently. We and the world profoundly miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving a very good introduction to Professor Satish Dhawan and giving how he was inspirational for many of the young students who are present here, and as well as the students who are on online mode. We have, I think, more than 100 registrations for this particular event. So we have arranged a question and answer session after the talk, so you can post your questions on that chat box. So Dr. Narahari will be moderating it later after the talks. So now we are really honored to have distinguished scientist, Dr. Y.S. Rajan, former Professor ISRO, to share his experience with Professor Dhawan through his talk on Professor Satish Dhawan in my memory lane. So he will take us through his interactions with Professor Satish Dhawan, which will really give an inspiration for our young students. Professor Dr. Y.S. Rajan has a proven track record of excellence as a scientist, technologist, administrator, organization builder and leader, diplomat, academic writer, and poet. He combines a unique ability for original and innovative thinking with strong implementation skills. He has capability to network with multidisciplinary and multicultural groups. He has made key contributions to space research, technology, and applications since 1964 and continues to be an important expert on space matters. As Scientific Secretary, Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, he was responsible for a combination of scientific, technical, administrative, planning, policy, and international cooperation matters. His contribution in shaping ISRO from its initial experimental phases into a major service delivery organization have been remarkable. In the process, he has also been a creator of many institutions and sustainable mechanisms between ISRO and its end users. He has worked with MIT, USA, and NASA for about 3 years. He is also a well-recognized authority and thought leader on technology, development, business management, and society linkages, while holding various positions of responsibility related to science and technology between 1988 and 2002. He has shaped key policies and implemented several successful R&D projects with industry participation. He has been responsible for creating a series of documents related to technology vision to 2020 for India, which culminated in a book on roadmap for socio-economic development for India called India Vision 2020. He has practical ground-level experience in developmental issues and has founded and built organizations like Technology Information Forecasting and Assessment Council, known as TIFAC, which he has led for about 2 decades. These organizations have helped to bring relevant technologies to improve productivity for the agricultural, manufacturing, and service sectors. After a 30-year stint with the Government of India, he joined the leading industry association in India, Confederation of India Industries, CII, in 1996. At CII, he strengthened and expanded their capabilities to interface with government on S&T and business issues. As principal advisor 2004 to 2010, he created a unique mechanism at CII for university-industry collaborations. He has wide international experience and was responsible for a large number of cooperative projects between India and other countries. He has led Indian delegations to the United Nations and has visited about 40 countries in all continents as a part of cooperative efforts in science, technology, and business. He is an expert in environmentally sound technologies, satellite meteorology, remote sensing, mapping systems, and intellectual property rights related matters. He has completed special assignments for UN organizations like UNITO, WIPO, and UNEP. He was actively involved in evolving policies and procedures relating to adopting IPR laws in India to the post-WTO TRIP situation, and also in preparing the Indian industry and institutions to master IPR issues. His engagement with the academic world began since 1976, and over a decade was responsible for funding basic research and introducing courses relating to space science and technology in several institutions. He was visiting professor in Anna University for 4 years and conducted master level courses. Since in 1988, he has also been responsible for introducing several innovative courses and creating unique centers of relevance and excellence for industry-academia cooperation with part funding from industry. As Vice Chancellor, Punjab Technical University, he introduced key initiatives to improve the internal processes and external interfaces of the university. He continues to be visiting faculty, board member, and advisor to various renowned Indian academic institutions, including RUAS. He is also a prolific writer and has written on a variety of subjects. He has authored and co-authored a number of books and has contributed to several others. He has also written a large number of articles in journals in India as well as international papers or magazines. He has written 7 books of poetry in Tamil as well as English. Both are well acclaimed. He was awarded Padma Shri by the President of India during 2012. And during January 2013, he was felicitated at the India Geospatial Forum with Lifetime Achievement Award. It's indeed very honor for us to invite you for your talk, sir.
Thank you. Namaskara. Am I audible?
Yes, 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 sir.
Thank you. My talk is going to be Professor S. Dhawan in my memory lane. Many thanks to Professor Govinda Kadambi and RUAS for giving me this opportunity to talk in the memory of one of the greatest sons of India, a world-class engineer, technology manager, a scientific leader who had no small role in stabilizing a fledgling organization called ISRO and making it a power engine for Indian achievements in space. This is my first engagement, public engagement in the new year 2021. I'm so happy that it is on Professor Dhawan. It will be no exaggeration if I say that he shaped a 30-year-old person to handle mighty responsibilities in most innovative phase of ISRO. Yes, I owe most of my professional achievements in ISRO and thereafter in various other national institutions to his shaping of me. She said about some items, his shaping of me. I hope some of you, at least in the audience, would have read up something about his management and contributions through the papers written on him. I, I had myself written a comprehensive paper on him in 2005 for INSA, Indian National Science Academy. An earlier paper in Pramana was 1988, Management of Indian Space Program, which specifically addressed the 12-year period of ISRO under Prof. Dhawan. There are others who have written about him. His contributions to aerodynamics, discipline in India. Prof. Govind Kadambi gave a little bit more, but many more. I don't intend to repeat any of them. Those who have not read them, I would suggest please do. They are available in the web search because it's important to read, not just get few sentences here and there. I am today going to narrate a few instances from my close association with him. It's somewhere, nowhere it would have recorded, but it gives you something very special about this person. Those narrations will bring out the greatness of his personality and a gentle human touch he had even while executing one of the toughest projects of the modern independent India, that of consolidating ISRO as a mighty deliverer of high technology projects and services to the country, touching the lives of Indian people. That was also close to his heart. And also to build upon the economic and security strengths of the country. I will begin with my first encounter with Prof. Dhawan. In order to do that, I had to go back, track back to my college days. I was in Bombay with MSc Physics and Electronics, 1963 to 64. And after BSc, atomic energy in those days are well known for job prospect for such students who do physics, etc. Nobody, not even my college professors, were aware of the fledgling space program, though the first rocket has gone up in 23rd November, I think, November 1963. A few years before that, the Sputnik had gone when I was in school. Man in space, a woman in space, they all caught headlines, but they looked very remote for most Indians, it looks like. It is a sheer quirk of fate that I did not get into a PhD in Bombay or a job in Bombay, atomic energy, etc. There are many opportunities, including in industry. I had joined physical research laboratory for PhD. That brought me into the orbit of Vikram Sarabhai, the director of PRL, who used to call me Sundar Rajan. I was with him for about 7 years, very close. Fast forward, I left my PhD pursuit and became an engineer in ISRO. That is at the guidance of Professor Dr. Sarabhai, then in COSPAR. Radar transponder, development of radar transponders for rocket development, done, successfully productionized. Then USA deputation, ISRO, MIT studied, INSAT, major system design, about 3 years, NASA. One of the most innovative spacecraft was the NASA's ATS, Application Technology Satellite, that 1970-75 period. Many of those experiments done in it have become satellite-based, and even now, KU band, everything that worked on. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai knew me very well. 1963 to 1964 to 71. He saw us even in USA. Shocked to learn about his demise when in USA, end of December 71. Learned later that one Professor Dhawan has taken over as chairman ISRO. Did not know him at all, nor did he visit USA when we were there. It was a very short period. So in ISRO, the organization of our program, in ISRO reorganization, the satellite instructional television experiment came under the director SAT, then Professor Yashpal, was very much in touch with me, met me also in USA, and so was Professor U.R. Rao, who was in charge of that Aryabhat project. They did not, I helped Professor Rao quite a bit in terms of that project, satellite project. They did not even tell me about Professor Dhawan. He was their boss. And I need not know who am I. He's a mighty man, and I am just a scientist engineer, middle level in ISRO, or lower in the hierarchy. I also did not worry about it, because as I had exciting jobs in NASA and giving a lot of useful information to site project this thing and also satellite project. They were all very appreciative of me. When returning back to ISRO after my work in NASA, Greg Andrews of NASA, he was the program director of site from NASA site, a senior person, fond of me, treated me almost like his son. I was in late 20s then. He told me, Rajan, it looks like that the new chairman is Professor Satish Dhawan is keen to have you with him on your return to India. Could be a great thing for you in your career, but let me tell you one thing about working with big person. He knows so many people. He was in NASA headquarters. You can rise fast to higher position. At the same time, if you are not cautious, it can also be a great fall for you. That was his advice to me. None in ISRO told me anything about it. But or this or that I am going to be taken there. But I learned from ISRO that on my return to ISRO headquarters with Professor Dhawan, ISRO headquarters did not have any particular structure or any visibility at that time when I returned. That is in 73 end or 74 beginning. A few senior person who got into trouble, mind you, who got into trouble in the factional politics of transition from Sarabhai era to a new formation. Don't think ISRO is everything is good and dandy. So that a lot of internal politics too. But they get oriented. That is where the greatness comes. Were particularly dumped, I'm sorry to use this word, into ISRO headquarters. As my duties in NASA were related to site, I came to join SAT, and at that place, there were, mind you, just see, peaceful agitations by engineers, senior engineers at SAT, most of them my good friends. Again, the SAT management, a lot of sit-in strike by them. I don't dwell on these details now. Go and find it out somewhere, maybe some other time. Professor Dhawan, who was to visit SAT, could not visit. So, otherwise I would have met him there. Professor Paul would have introduced. That was ideal, I think. So I was asked to come. I alone was asked to come to see him in Centaur Hotel in Bombay. Professor Ishpal said, Rajan, it appeared that Satish wants you to have you with him. He said nothing more. So I met Professor Dhawan for the first time, maybe perhaps I think it is somewhere in December 1973. I returned in November 7, 1973. And sent my wife and son who were with me to USA to their father's place near Ahmedabad. And that was the period in which student agitation, encouraged by national student agitation, encouraged by Jayaprakash Narayan, was very tough, communication, everything. India had a poor telephone connection, and we can't even talk much. We had to wait for hours to get after an urgent call. So Professor Dhawan was tall. I met him when I came. Was a tall, charming man, near white hair and nicely combed. And he is there all the time, will be like that. Just we two were there. He started explaining about many things. When in an expansive mood, I've seen it later also, when in an expansive mood, he covers many things in a speech. It was not clear to me what he wanted to do with me. I was just a patient listener. Because I met him for the first time, I did not interrupt. About 15 minutes of such a talk, he just told me he wanted me in the headquarters of ISRO. Incidentally, no such thing existed in the fledgling ISRO or Sarabhai's time, though there was a rudimentary thing around him. So there was nothing, nobody knows exactly what ISRO headquarters was. My life started with Professor Dhawan in a major way. My life had been very peculiar. Big persons like Sarabhai were so accessible to me right from the age of 20, talking freely when they talk very freely. So it was with MIT, NASA, etc. So I almost spontaneously said, thank you, sir. But in ISRO headquarters, there is a feeling, all around ISRO, there is a feeling that ISRO headquarters is a morgue. It alluded to what I referred to about a little earlier. Mostly the problem cases were dumped there. So I am telling this to you, to Chairman ISRO in my first meeting. And I'm just even now, I am in a sense a small fry. I don't think I even thought about it, that how you may react. It was spontaneous. I'm talking to a very big man, first time. Though I forgot most of the details of the conversation, his reaction to my saying is still in my memory before me, even now I can feel it. He related this, he swiveled his chair about 3/4. It went off like that in a circle and returned and saw me. Well, it depends. What a marvelous acknowledgement of a fact as it existed then, and also point out that it depends on what is going to be the context and in which persons come there and take responsibility. That's such a profound meaning. Then he went on talking for several minutes, explaining many things which can need to be done, etc., etc. There was a broad description, nothing specific as to what he wanted me to do. I did not say anything, as I have understood that Professor Dhawan had decided that I will be with him in his headquarters. I remember Greg Andrews told me. Almost I was to leave, Professor Dhawan told me, Rob isn't you, Rob, you are Rob. Rob is interested in your help in the satellite project. Yashpal wants your help. Be in headquarters and attend to their needs too. Is problem resolution of 3 conflicting demands. After 3 months, such a triangular mode, I was working. I still remember it. I finally settled down full-time ISRO headquarters with Professor Dhawan in May 1974 onward. There are many things to say, how you took care of the personal thing, housing, etc., but I'm skipping them. Was he putting me on a probation for 3-4 months to see my resilience as to how I cope with conflicting roles, whether 2 or centers? I don't know. But to the youngsters here, I give you an advice. Well, it depends. Those 3 words you remember. You will hear many things good and bad about a job or an organization and something else. You'll get a WhatsApp message, somebody will say, "Hey, Baba, why are you going there?" All that. Oh, that fellow useless. Don't decide on your choices based on such generalizations. You may not be all lucky to have a Professor Dhawan to decide on as it did for me. You may have to decide, seek an equivalent of Professor SD to advise, well, it depends. A lot also depends on how you adapt and shape. This is a very important message. Fortunately, I think, because all the time for me, my whole career trajectory had been transformed with that. I wanted to be a satellite engineer, project, etc. It was a major change in my life. Professor Dhawan built up a unique headquarters very speedily during the 1970s, early part of it. Many young persons around my age, many of my good colleagues were there. Some new persons straight from the universities or institutes, some with experience. It was a unique innovation. That is the one. ISRO headquarters was a unique innovation in any Indian organization. Something Professor S. Dhawan shaped up. Not as autocratic, centralized, hierarchy-bound HQ, giving directions to implementers of projects. There are many. There are plenty of them. But a well-informed, knowledge-intensive, participative management structure, a judicious combination of decentralization and agile decision-making superstructures. That is why he was able to handle so much. At the same time, getting into details in something when needed. At the same time, leaving it. It is not just a written delegation. It's a very distinct. There are reflective organization in the centers also. If I explain on it, it will become too long. So HQ, along with centers, worked as interconnected, fast-acting networks. I'm using modern terminologies. All within the government system. Don't think freedom means all within the government systems of accountability, everything. It is not just freedom for all. Sometimes people say freedom means it is not freedom for all. Yes, it is there up to some stages. It was also a well understood organizational discipline, judicious combination. It's a pity that our eminent academics in management studies have not done several case studies and made lessons for their students. They could have done, still they can do PhDs on it. For me and my colleagues in ISRO headquarters, it was a golden period too. It was also, I was also made scientific secretary, a unique position, carved out and shaped by Professor Dhawan. Just before me, my earlier group, Professor P.D. Bhavsar guide was there, but it was for a short period. But for me, most of the thing he shaped along when I had become that. I was not the boss of my ISRO colleagues. It was the most complex to describe. But in that role, I had to interact with Professor Dhawan very often. It also had, I had also deal with briefing media, ministries, etc., etc. But my major role was scientific, technical, and forward planning, and also monitoring various projects, etc. Was a member of many apex boards and ISRO council, etc. I won't dwell on all that because it will take time. Too much on a person in the early 30s. While senior persons in ISRO were there, they were all in the middle 40s and some in the early 50s. Professor Dhawan himself was in the early 50s. I had some special exchanges with Professor Dhawan in that role. That has shaped me quite a bit, and I had a lot of things which is there. Often, many direct discussions, almost sometimes going for hours. Many notes of analysis, thesis, synthesis, options, decision, or all, etc. asked for by me. He's a tough taskmaster when he's asking many of these. Will do again and again. Some of my colleagues also will do that for him. Also, some notes generated by me, suo moto. I used to do that. All of them should be in ISRO archives. There was a small percentage of them sent by Professor Dhawan. I used to send him confidential to be opened by addressee. They all had a copy in ISRO file, carefully kept in scientific secretary's ISRO. Some of my notes will be critical of Professor Dhawan's. Oh, you are not made this, for delaying some decisions, pointing out the impact on overall ISRO, etc. There are also some notes which describes about my personal dilemma, especially because the role, I am just 30s, as some of my colleagues too there. But in the Indian unique sociological organizational thing which SD was doing, Professor SD, we were referring at SD, very effectively for ISRO's progress. But the stress on me was great because the role I played could cause problem in post-Dhawan's retirement. I don't have time to explain them. SD will call me. Some of my other colleagues also it was similar. SD will call me sometime and describe something different, and that what I had said. Some were not responded to at all by him. Once I sent the note, my steam is let off. So I'm over. So this was the period between 1974 to 1984. If I speak about illustrative examples of lessons, technical things, also many of the techno-managerial lessons, many scientific and technical insights during the period, reviews, where it does. When Professor Dhawan asks a question, he just often doesn't interfere. When he asks the question, it will be very deep. We all have to think about it, how much it is. Then the evolution of the decade profile, etc. There are so many. Then I guess I have to deliver about 100 lectures with lots of facts and lessons to be learned. So this is not the place to tell it. So I fast forward. Just as I started with my induction in ISRO, I will narrate the very end of my departure. His departure. I didn't depart, I had to be there. A few weeks before, even before the formal announcement had come, Professor Dhawan had called me and explained why the whole dilemma in succession he had to face in Delhi. Finally, that is all the three keeping together. Finally, how Professor U.R. Rao has been chosen as chairman ISRO, just as his position like Secretary Department of Space and Space Division. Finally, he told me, Rajan, you have told me about your concerns about your future in ISRO and desire to move out. But one thing I request, don't leave at least for 6 months after I leave. This is a penultimate day. This is before that, before everything all announced. The transition may pose some problem, require some strong people. Session and you have to take care. Session is another great person who has made ISRO administrative systems very well along with Professor Dhawan. Poignant moment for me. I had grown up then. I was 40. a few weeks passed. Government orders came. Penultimate day before he demitted office, he called me in. He took out a big bag. It's like this old Russian thing, very nice, this thing. And Rajan used to send me some special notes to me from time to time over the past 10 years. I kept them all in a bag. Do you want them to be sent to ISRO files? I will just initial and give it to my office. Sir, I have a copy of all of them in the Scientific Secretary ISRO office. Only a few handwritten, one were not there, they were personal. Okay then, the whole thing with you. Use it whatever way you want. I was dumbfounded. Was a too small an expression. What a magnanimity, what a care. I took it from him and opened later. Yet how neatly they have been arranged. They have been a special way of doing things. This one I want to stress because everything which he does will be very neat. Even his table will be all arranged. Even in the greatest hurry, arrange papers, file neatly, not leave it to office fellows to sort out. So there are several other things in my write-up critical of his decision, delayed several sharp, cryptic reminders for action in the next 3 or 6 months. Every time I used to send it. Why should a great man like him bother? He had a deep sense of history. He cared for facts, objective analysis, and multiple viewpoints, not some opinions you tell 10, 20 years later. They are still with me. And I read them. And even now, in between, I put it. Even that period of Prof. Dhawan events, all country, everything come by me, one note. They run to several hundred pages. Some glimpses of now with that beginning. Of course, I was in touch with him his entire life. Later also, after 84, 88, I left ISRO. Even then, I used to be in touch with him every 2-3 months. I would come and talk to him also. We used to have a lot of correspondence also. Some glimpses of Prof. Dhawan's foresight I want to give. What happened? He got Space Commission's approval to have both private and public sector industry to do fabrication for ISRO as early as 1975. In 1975, to give something to private industry was, no, give everything to PSUs. Because here he has to match who will do the which engineering. So the industry design product. In fact, what happens is, what it was is ISRO will design, give it to this. But he tried to make ISRO and HAL to become space industries so that ISRO design does some tests, then afterward they will do entire production engineering. But somehow last minute they will do. It's a big story. Some of it I'm deeply connected and aware. Professor Dhawan, he had convinced ISRO colleagues. They also didn't like it. That it is in their interest to develop a space industry, as NASA, French, CNES do. They were partially convinced, but the two major industries, Bell and HAL, did not see that in the future. So there are many items in the new India is making now the first. Like this, had it come there, you would have had some powerful space industries in India. Now India is making a thing. I hope we wish them all good to create a space industry. Past 6 months, a lot of things are going on. Another very important quality of Prof. Dhawan. This is not with this technical and other thing, and another one. It is a rare. I am yet to see that a top person in India having only excellent relation, having not only excellent relation, but respect for his number two. All of you will say, nobody will tell it so bluntly like me, but I have seen that in my long career, the tensions between number one and number two are very high, though outwardly they will wish each other or even joke, etc. Often that has a negative impact on organization. I have seen many. But the relations between Prof. Dhawan and Chairman ISRO and Dr. Brahm Prakash, the Director VSSC, under whom 80% of ISRO activities were there, would not be believed if I narrate. Dr. BP was also a little elder to him, Prof. Dhawan. I had the good fortune of working with both. One can only find an equivalence. I was just thinking, only in Rama and Lakshmana. What a great Only thing is, here the Lakshmana is higher, elder than me. What a great human beings. No wonder Kalam always refers to Professor Dhawan and Dr. Brimba Pagad, in addition to mentioning about Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. So much in the past, as it was a memory lane. There are lots of lessons for the present and near future too. That is why I'm just mentioning human qualities and then the way the reviews take place, all that you go through. And the way he deals with his colleagues, how he selects. So I think when Professor Kadambi said about the Lippmann, I think he might have seen something in me when I was in NASA. I don't know how you did it. He selected it. Then I'll come on that end. Before ending, I wish to share with you a real long-term vision for humanity shared by Professor Dhawan in the early 1996. Most people don't know about it at all, because it's a published document. Some 24 years ago, it can fill the whole of 21st century. There's so much of technical details given. Its title is, it is a lecture by him in Aeronautical Society of India. I just showing this, weather, space, and aeronautics. It is a rare document. I got quoted extensively in my first Professor Dhawan Memorial Lecture organized by ISRO and in Indian Institute of Engineers. It is on my website. That talk is available in the web. I quote, however, some elements of it. So one thing which he had in his mind was the national early warning response system. This is for, you had described quite a bit, communication, remote sensing, all that together is called MEWAS. This is what he did. There's a beautiful system diagram which he has done, the entire, capturing the entire thing in one way. There's something very unique. This is on all things about natural resources, sociology, forest, etc., urbanization, etc. But still, today we are giving, it is still the citizens' feedback, the user feedback is not coming on real time. How it could be done. In those days, so much of mobile and all were not there. Our telephones were in the fledgling stage. But now it is much more is possible. Still, that is why I appealed there. Now I will tell that how much he has looked for. Just see this. He says, MEWAS encompasses all the above elements, natural resources and etc., including man-made disaster, flood, and other things. And one can envisage, in addition, during the course of its growth, because FIMAS is saw it as a big one is going, smuggling land and sea, large-scale community gatherings, Amarnath, Sabarmala, Kurukshetra, Shavan Balagola, holy fairs in Sangams, and other things. Population migration, large-scale epidemics. Please see, yes, induced by natural or man-made disaster, spread the virus. Yes, capitalized it. See, insurgency of terrorists and national security. 96, he has told. So he has told all these things could be covered if this remote sensing and communication, GPS and all that. It is a transformation of the acquired, but he has also pointed out the challenge. It's not just making the hardware, it's all relatively easier. It is in the transformation of the acquired data, information into a variety of practically useful forms for the challenge. That is where the challenge lies. Then he goes on telling quite a few things. I am not telling all of them. The basis is already in place, waiting for the user. Done quite a bit of it with other user ministries. The well-being of the Indian subcontinent within the ambit of an early warning and response system, that is the MEWAS, would step by step, all natural disasters and man-made disaster can be done. So that is one part. Second, it's much more challenging. Space colonies. People should not think that he was a very this one programs he did, etc., etc. He could think much ahead for almost few decades, not just a decade profile. Space colonies. He has talked about. I am not going to talk about it. Astronauts and other that MEWAS he has described in 10 pages. The space colonies also he goes further. Mars, everything has been put in 1996, mind you. Then comes the one towards the end. Then he says space colonies and planetary engineering. It's not just sitting there, planetary engineering. Then comes, I'll read only the last part, what he says in the concluding remarks. So how to speed up the processes, etc., etc. He has given at this stage, it is useful to remind ourselves of the time scale from 1,000 to 1,000,000 years. The earth it has come and then how it is and then how you will do. It's a fantastic document. Now I will just say the last concluding one which he has given. That is something why I am telling it. Please listen carefully. Civilization have a long sought answers to problems of existence. In the last half a century, it has slowly dawned upon the mankind that the great variety of life forms on the earth, one of them, Homo sapiens, has reached a stage when its actions are endangering the globe. At that time, many were not even talking about global warming and all that, but he could see, he could read, was a keen reader, scientific insight. The skeptic asked, what is the moral justification of exploring planets and stars where there is so much hunger, misery, poverty, and strife on earth? The optimist says programs which focus on space and air and encounter complex issues of survival in a hostile environment, facing the unpleasant dangers and situations and overcoming them, enhance man's capability to face the unknown, yes, good capital, and survive as a truly civilized being. Collectively, can mankind, this is a question he has posed, can mankind enhance its capabilities to evolve a civilization on earth which is more humane, sensitive, and harmonious, not only to humans but all forms of life? If yes, then we go to space to understand and resolve the problem of life on earth. Journey, then he quotes, journeys in space and time are symbiotic with matter, mind, and values, the message of the Vedas. This is where he ends the talk. So then, when I look at it, well, I have to stop here. I had continued to be in touch with him, I told you, quite a bit, till it's almost towards the end. 88, when I end up, he will advise me on tie back and other things, also many things, but not in detail. The philosophical thing, it was a recharging for me. Now, I specially pay. Now, I think also you see one thing, on the demise when I heard, it was terrible. But Dr. Kalam and me, we were in Lucknow. He could catch a flight because he was near the airport. Then I got stuck in the traffic. So you see a poem of me. She mentioned about some of the English poems. It comes in the book Agony and Harmony. Learning is device it came. It captures most features of Prof. Satish Dhawan. It appears in the Insa Dissing also. Now I end saying I specially pay obeisance to God for having given me to be shaped by such a great man. Given to me that opportunity to be shaped. I pray to the God and gentle. Thank you. I am through.
Thank you, sir. It was a really enchanting experience, which we can also memorize throughout our life. And it is indeed your fortune to work with such great personalities. So it's our privilege to listen to you, to go through your experiences, and I'm sure these youngsters will get inspired by this type of talks. So thank you, sir. So now we have with us one more distinguished scientist, Dr. Shridan Pillai, who is the member of our Board of Governors and former CEO and MD of BrahMos Aerospace. He will be delivering talk on Professor Satish Dhawan, an inspirational leader. It is indeed our privilege to listen to these luminaries. Born on 15 July 1947, Dr. Pillai graduated in electrical engineering from Madras University underwent management program at Harvard Business School, and obtained PhD from Pune University and DSc from Tumkur University. Dr. Pillai's 4 decades of experience in ISRO and DRDO under the great visionary leaders, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Satish Dhawan, and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, made him a technology leader in the field of launch vehicles and guided missiles. His contributions to the successful development of SLV-3 as a core team member and evolution of PSLV configuration for ISRO have been remarkable. Dr. Pillai's skills in networking multiple institutions for the development of critical missile technologies, overcoming denial regimes, enabled realization of Agni, Prithvi, Nag, and Akash missiles under the IGMDP as its program director. BrahMos Aerospace is a unique joint venture, first of its kind between India and Russia to design, develop, produce, and market the most advanced supersonic cruise missile. His outstanding leadership qualities made India proud to possess the fastest, highly precise, and the most potent missile BrahMos, which is now inducted in the Indian Armed Forces. BrahMos is a world leader in the family of cruise missiles, surpassing those in the developed countries. As the founder, CEO, and MD of the joint venture, Dr. Pillai is regarded as the father of BrahMos, which has become a role model for establishing joint ventures between the countries. Well known as defense technologist in the world, Dr. Pillai has been recognized by many prestigious engineering and management institutions with fellowships. He has received many honorary doctorates from 12 reputed universities of India and Russia. The Moscow University of Security, Defense and Law Enforcement honored Dr. Pillai with the Order of the Peter the Great and the Academician of the University. Dr. Pillai has published many papers in the international and national journals and conferences. Dr. Pillai has written many books, including Revolution in Leadership, Nanoscience and Nanotechnology for Engineering. He is the co-author with Dr. Kalam for the books Envisioning an Empowered Nation and Thoughts for Change, We Can Do It. Dr. Pillai is a recipient of various prestigious awards, including Technology Leadership Award, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai Research Award, Organization for Industrial, Spiritual and Cultural Advancement International Award from Japan, Rajaram Mohan Puraskar, Lokmanya Tilak Award, Lal Bahadur Shastri Award, Performance Excellence Award from Institution of Industrial Engineering, and most importantly, Padma Shri in 2002 and Padma Bhushan in 2013 by the Government of India for his contribution to aerospace and missile technologies, and Order of Friendship by the Government of Russian Federation, the highest Russian award for the foreign citizens of highest order. It is indeed our privilege to listen to you, sir. Please take, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, there was a power cut in my place suddenly, which created problem. You are able to hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, my mentor, respected Dr. Y.S. Rajan, a close associate of Professor Satish Dhawan as his scientific secretary during the golden period of ISRO, acting Vice Chancellor Professor Govind Kadambi, faculty and students of Rabaya University, researchers of Technology Business Incubator, friends. Good afternoon to all of you. I think you may have to bear for some time for your lunch now. My greetings to all of you on this important day of centenary celebration of Professor Satish Dhawan, whom we regard as a great inspirational leader. I had the opportunity to work with him at ISRO for many years, particularly with him for 4 years. I know him personally. There are many such incidents like what Dr. Rajan has explained. It was a fantastic narration what Dr. Rajan gave about his interaction with Professor Satish Dhawan. I'm not going to discuss all those things because I will move on to something which is interesting to you, apart from knowing about Professor Satish Dhawan. Satish Dhawan was an outstanding technology leader with mission focus, team building, analytical in decision making, forthright in action, and above all, nobility in management. These characterize Professor Dhawan as I know him. He was a great thinker, teacher, institutions builder, including IAC and ISRO, NAL, and other organizations. He never projected himself for fame for his outstanding contributions, but celebrated the success of his colleagues and subordinates. He is the embodiment of a distinguished inspirational leadership for our time what we are living. Inspirational leadership means exercising the vision to change the traditional role from the commander to coach, manager to mentor, from director to delegator, and from one who demands respect to one who facilitates self-respect. Today, many people ask why ISRO is a very big success. It's a big success in R&D organizations. Why others are not? That was because of Professor Satish Dhawan. He envisioned ISRO to be a lead organization for the use of space technology for development of the nation. In his honor, I thought I would like to present how space can be used for sustainable development of our nation. I will now share some slides with you. You are able to see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, if you look at India, it was a great nation 2000 years before. Successive invasions of the foreign rulers, not participation in industrial revolution, and the rising population reduced our prosperity. After independence, we slowly built up ourselves, but the major thing happened in 1991 when the economic revival came and the information age supported us. We thought that was the time we should have a vision for India. There is second vision for developing India as a developed nation. With by energizing human capital, 700 billion youth by skill set, and move towards knowledge and technology. You see, the first vision started in 1857, the broken India, but at the same time, there was a mass movement for freedom, unity of minds, focused actions, best leaders came, patriotism was there. So when we have reached the 47, we went in a different direction now. Development of the nation, at the same time, many of the things we forgotten. And now in the second vision, we are thinking that the 96, when TIFAC started the vision for developed India, Dr. Kalam was the chairman of TIFAC and Dr. Rajan was the executive director. So these two gentlemen made India to work for them, work on the unified effort, 500 of them, to see that we will give a roadmap for sustainable development to make India a developed nation. What is developed nation? This should be sustainable development, growth rate, GDP 10% and above. Literacy should be 100%, self-reliance in strategic industries, healthcare for all, better quality of life, which we achieved by 2020. That was the vision, to make the broken India to make a big India. What is sustainable development? You know that we need to protect the earth, biodiversity, ecosystem, life support systems, then culture we should maintain, climate, clean air, drinking water, hygiene, native medicine, biodiversity, etc. What is to be developed? People, life expectancy, education, employment, equal opportunity for all, and then economy. Wealth should come to the nation, then society, development, all these things, education, employment, health, housing, security, clean energy, sustained GDP growth, higher productivity index. How it can come? It can come only by technology and innovations. Technology and innovations can affect the most fundamental changes in the ground rules of economic competitiveness and environment, resulting sustainable development to the society. So science, application with application becomes technology, and value addition can be given by institutions of higher learning, like our Rama University. Many institutions can support the technology development with innovations and knowledge solutions for competitiveness and better environment for the sustainable development. So the Dr. Kalam's leadership, the Dr. Rajan was there motivating 500 scientists for 2 years. They produced 17 volumes of reports on developed India. Major focus was given to the 5 areas: agriculture, agro-food processing for the food security and nutritional security, education and health care for social security, then infrastructure development in power, providing urban amenities in rural areas for the rural development, and river networking. That will help us to make the living comfortable. And then information and communication should give massive employment, export earnings. Then the critical technologies and strategic industries, technology strengths in nuclear, space, and defense, self-reliance we should achieve. That was the focus of that. And industry development has to come in a big way. So mission mode projects driven by knowledge and technology are the requirement for happy, healthy society, economic strength, and national security. That was the plan of vision for developed India. So we have got many things happened. The programs, if you see that India, even before the developed India vision, there were development in the green revolution, white revolution, which made India to prosper. We are now producing 300 million tons of food grains. We are the largest producer of milk in the world. We have got good communication now, and the power generation, wind and solar has come. So the nuclear, we are producing only 6,280, but we are now targeting to make some 25,000 megawatt. Supercomputer was refused to us. Now we are making petaflop computer and jumped into quantum computing. And the Green Revolution 2 has come with the precision farming using space technology and AI, which will lead us to 400 million tons. This is the aim for 2025. And then the IT is doing very well, $220 billion they have earned last year. And that is I am talking about 2019. And then Pharma, we are doing very well. We are the fourth in the world with $25 billion. And then we are looking at hypersonic missions, cruise missiles as well as the hyperplane, and looking at the moon and Mars. So we have now moved in many ways, but the space technology has come in a big way because of Sarabhai and Dhawan. Sarabhai envisioned space technology for the nation. He is the visionary leader who started the whole effort, and the Dhawan started coming after Sarabhai. So both of them thought India will be second to none in using advanced technologies for solving problems of common man. So there was a vision given by Sarabhai for the 10-year profile to make our own launch vehicle from our own land, put our own satellite into orbit. Though he started thinking about site and step programs, in indigenous development, he gave a big push. And because of Professor Satish Dhawan, who is an institution builder, mission-driven programs he introduced, system approach to the whole development, strong leadership, nobility, and he brought in new culture. This is the difference between other organizations and ISRO. The major thing is Dhawan's approach to new culture. Today we are very successful. We are global competitive space power and self-reliant in space technology. So then the major development was the SLV-3. Development was SLV-3, which Dr. Abdul Kalam was the project director. India became a member of the Space Club. When the first launch was done, you can see the one reviewing the progress of SLV-3 integration. And first launch was a failure. In 1979, it was not successful. First stage performed well, second stage onwards failure came. Then we were the SLV-3 team from the leader onwards. We were very upset seeing a failure. So that time, Professor Dhawan took the lead to go to the press, took full responsibility for the failure and address the press conference. He did not expose the project act. But when it became success, 18th July 1980, after we found out the reason and did all the things and made a successful launch, to convey the success, he asked Kalam, he said, Kalam, press is waiting for you. This is what he said to address the press. He gave full credit to that team. This is his nobility. That has helped us, the organization, to sustain. So today we have PSLV. We are celebrating the PSLV success. And also we have the GSLV operational. See, PSLV, when the configuration was evolved, it was a very big teams. Teams were working on that at VSSC. They have given a configuration. Professor Satish Dhawan was not very happy with the configuration. He, being an aeronautical engineer who could analyze the details, he decided that the vehicle should be simple and highly reliable. So under his leadership, few of us, Dr. Kalam, I was also in the team, we worked and the headquarters worked very well to see a reliable configuration. Today, you are all happy about PSLV because it has got 50 successful launches. That all because of the ones, the ability to go for a good mission for the nation. So that's the success which we happened. And we have today the PSLV launching foreign satellites, 104 satellites it launched once. So there are many good things about PSLV. And the PSLV with the modules, the technology transfer. See, many places in many organizations in India, technology transfer is a failure. But in ISRO, technology transfer is a success. He got that liquid Vikas engine for the second stage of PSLV with a very careful management system of taking the technology, working with them, and then understanding the technology and improving the technology and giving back to the French people that we have improved our system. This is the type of thing. So he could understand that how a technology should be assimilated by our team and they should know every bit of it. So that's the success of our the Vikas engine technology transfer. That type of attitude helped us to develop the cryogenic engine. And today, India is a very powerful nation in the propulsion technology. So that is all because of the management system, his way of doing things, and to make things reliable. His mission management, the review system, everything he introduced from the headquarters, and Dr. Rajan was one of the team members to make things happen. So that's why the ISRO is very sustainable and success has come to the organization. And application, you see the remote sensing applications, or many applications have come on remote sensing and communication. We have got the telemedicine, education and broadcasting, and village resource centers, then meteorological, analyzing that. All these things have come because of the man visioned all these developments. So what his main thing was, he had a vision for ISRO. So because I was associated with him, he himself drew with pencil what next 15 years we have to do in the PSLV development, new technologies, GS moving towards GSLV, then high power launch vehicles, then satellite, how the remote sensing satellite should develop, and then how the communication satellite should get in. All these things with his own thinking in pencil, he wrote all these things and told us, see, we should have a vision for next 15 years, he gave. And what does it mean? High-end R&D collaborations with world space centers. That's why he didn't want any development related to defense. He didn't want to encourage because cooperation with other countries. Then he wanted to go into the academy for technology incubations. He was a strong supporter of ISRO and academic collaborations. The first man to think about a strong collaboration with academy as well as with the industry. So this is a great thing what he did at that time, helped many of the projects. Today we are very successful in missile projects, not because of we initiated everything. All his ideas only we are implementing. So he wanted India to be a global leader in space technology utilization to our people. So joint effort, then industry development, academic development, space industry concept he brought in. Dr. Rajan explained that he brought that concept of space industry, cost-effective missions, applications to the nation. So he made nation a competitive power for in space. So we have got today's influence in space technology and manufacturing. So today, if you look at ISRO, then what is the new policy emerging because of him is competitive industries have come, energize them to participate in the global market, increase the entrepreneurship and capacity building for launch vehicle and satellite manufacturing. So consortium of industries to produce PSLV and satellites is coming. Then enhance R&D and infrastructure for new technology development. So this has come later, but he has put the seed for that. So he again and again mentioned that reusability is a very important component. he mentioned to us many times. So reusable launch vehicles, manned space missions, he didn't talk about that at that time because he was more worried about development of the nation using the space technology. The new propulsion systems, yes. Enhance support for national security today, we are doing, and then expand international cooperations for human space flights. These are the new developments which have come when he started all the things. Is now we are looking at many things like cooperation for lunar factory, international space station, removal of space debris, fueling and repair of spacecraft in orbits, solar power satellite, exploration of helium-3 on moon, asteroid and Mars. All these things are all being taught by our people because of his initiation. Most importantly, new missions to support societal needs. So this is the lunar mission. We did not succeed much in the sending the rover in the Chandrayaan 2, but Chandrayaan 3 definitely will be successful. And why moon is interesting to many countries today? America is planning to establish their station in 2024. And that will be followed by China, Russia. And so the interest is it has got millions of tons of helium-3, which is going to be the fuel for the future. And also the moon can be used as the launch pad for, because its gravity is 1/6 of the Earth. So you need a smaller launch vehicle to do maximum payload. Secondly, we have already traveled to 4 lakh kilometers. So there's a big advantage of making launch pads on the moon, and also take out the material, which is a very, very important material. 1 gram of helium-3 is equal to 100 times the uranium power without radioactivity. So this is a very important thing, but it is amenable for fusion. So we need to develop fusion energy. So we have an international thermonuclear experimental reactor is being developed in Europe jointly by 7 nations. India is a partner into that. India has given the cryostat that cover the whole thing what you are seeing, and the vacuum missiles we are doing that. And our partnership is growing very well. 2025 is the target to generate 500 megawatt of energy through this reactor. So that will help us to establish the small reactors with in our place. That will help us to use helium-3 to produce fusion energy. If you look at the energy situation now, we are dumping 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. All nations put together every year. See, this is a grave situation of using the type of fuel, coal, oil, and other wood, everything. So we need to protect the earth. What keeps us alive is the sun, solar energy, natural capitals, air, water, soil, energy, environment must be protected. So protecting the earth is a big mission. This is the dream of Satish Dhawan that he many times talked about the protecting the earth. Dr. Rajan also mentioned a few things about it. So we need renewable natural resources, sunlight, wind, wave, geothermal, and the non-renewable energy sources are there, but we have to reduce using them. And we should see that our agriculture, water, forest products, soils, everything maintained. And these are the natural capitals. So we have to go for solar energy, wind, hydrogen, then the ocean, energy from ocean, fuel cells, all these are requirement for the future. So clean energy. So ultimately we want a solar power satellite to be there, which can, there are 2 things, 2 types of satellites are possible. One generates energy and sends electromagnetic waves to a station, floating station on the sea, which can use the seawater to desalinate and give us the drinking water. That's one possibility. Another possibility is reflecting mirrors to generate the heat energy, send the heat energy down to the floating station and produce the power. These are the concepts which are there, but this needs to be built in the space. A big structure has to be built in the nation. So there's a need for technology for low-cost access to space. Today, when we talk about the putting a satellite, 1 kg satellite costs $20,000. So we should reduce the cost. So that because we have got bigger missions means we should definitely reduce. For that, people started thinking about it. If you see, look at the efficiency of the different vehicles, like a space shuttle, 2,000 tons takeoff weight, which puts only 30 tons in the lower orbit. The efficiency is something like 0.5%. So no, 1.5%, less than that. All these vehicles which we are having in the world cannot go beyond 3-4%. So then our people started thinking, this is the thinking of our Indian team, which has come out with a concept of the hyperplane, which helps us to increase the payload fraction to 15 tons. That is by, you take off 100-ton weight hypersonic reusable launch vehicle, which uses initially the fuel, and when it reaches the altitude, its weight reduces to 91 tons, and it goes around the Earth. While going around the Earth, it is going to be in the scramjet mode, and don't leave the hot air outside. Convert the hot air into oxygen, that is by liquid air, and then separate it. So by the heat exchanger, which is there in the vehicle. So increase the weight from 91 ton to 166 tons while orbiting, and then take off using the hydrogen. You have got now hydrogen and oxygen liquid form. That is a cryogenic propulsion by which you can take on to higher altitude with inject higher payload. So this is a unique concept evolved by the Indian scientists, particularly in the DRDO, and we put it in the forum, the International Astronautical Federation, which has accepted this as a feasible proposal. So by this, you can reduce the cost tremendously from 20,000 to first step to 2,000 and finally to $200 per kg. This is the concept, not proved yet, but definitely it is a possible thing. Dr. Dhawan also, Professor Dhawan also is a very lover of birds. He has written a book on how birds fly. So this is how a bird flies. This is the one study on the egrets, the bird egret. And he has written, he's analyzed it so carefully, taken photograph of every step it has got, and then drew this in his own handwriting. So how much height it moves, how much time it takes, all these things he has very carefully done. And now he said from this concept, he has come to morphing wing. Why not aircraft have the morphing wings? We can fly with no control is required. It should be shaped memory alloys which should be used, and the polymers have to come in a big way. Then active materials, electroactive polymers, piezoelectric ceramics, magnetostrict restrictive material to be developed. All these things will help us to have a structure like this. Advantage is better flight envelope and reliability, elimination of additional control surfaces, reduction of system complexity, better flow field surrounding the vehicle, drag reduction, reduced manufacturing costs. All these things are possible. So this is the future. We have now in DRDO a project launched to be done as a morphing structure. IIT Madras, they are doing this development. So with all this background, Dr. Kalam, who was his disciple, Professor Dhawan's disciple, started thinking about missiles. When we were in ISRO, I was working with Dr. Kalam in the SLV3. At that time, we were working out how SLV3 stages can be made as a missile. We made a number of secret reports, and Dr. Dhawan never encouraged us. When we moved to ISRO headquarters also, we talked to him. He said, nothing doing, you do it in DRDO. That's what he told Dr. Kalam. So finally, he allowed Dr. Kalam to move out to DRDO and supported theirs, not directly, indirectly. So we started thinking about contemporary performance. This is all discussed with him, and he gave a lot of guidance in evolving the missile program IGMDP. And if you look at the Agni today, Agni first stage, this is nothing is the same as the SLV3 first stage. And a number of them were so number of these stages initially were given by ISRO to support this. All Professor Dhawan did, though he was very strict about involving ISRO in the space program, in the defense program. He helped us to initially develop. Now the DRDO has got their own separate plant, everything, and know-how given by ISRO. So space, nuclear, and defense got integrated into a nuclear tipped Agni 5. You have seen the Agni 5 missile, which has got 5,000 kilometer range. So we have a good missile strategic system safeguarding India. And the next move for the Agni is multiple independent warheads. So same payload will have multiple independent warheads. And also we have developed certain systems for ballistic missile defense. With that, we proved the enemy satellite can also be destroyed. So this is another big development which has been carried out, anti-satellite system. So overall, if you see in the missile program, we come under the MTCR. And now we are MTCR country, but when the 83, 84, 86, during that period, we were debating ourselves how to develop these critical technologies, because missile technology control regime was very strong. No country gave technology to us, no component can be purchased, no material can be purchased, nobody we can consult. That was the situation. So with that condition, we have developed the re-entry technology. Computational fluid dynamics came in a big way. This is all in the IIC. They developed the computational fluid dynamics, Professor Deshpande and the team. So we have today the complete technology of re-entry. This is a very important development. And the sensors, guidance systems, then imaging, processing, operational systems, the devices, then supercomputer was refused to us, but we developed supercomputer. The computer which was refused was Cray XMB. We developed a computer which was 20 times faster than the Cray XMB because it was denied to us. So technology denied is technology gained. Many systems have come. Critical technology have been indigenously developed by working with, networking with academic institutions and industries. This is a lesson Professor Dhawan taught us. You have to be linking yourself with academy all the time, linking with the industry all the time. Then only you will become a national power. So that's what we did, even though DRDO alone cannot do that. Dr. Kalam followed Dhawan's advice to integrate the national resources. So not only that, he used the technology developed to the common people. That is, this is the light material. This is a FRO, flow reaction or this is caliper. And conventional caliper is 4 kilogram. The caliper which was made by missile material was only 300 grams. So 55,000 children we gave and proved the technology and transferred to the welfare ministry. So like this, many technologies have been developed for societal applications. So with this background, when our country was well known in the 90s, we thought that we should go for a big program like the cruise missile. All the world cruise missiles are subsonic. We thought we should make supersonic. So we needed certain collaboration for the engine, supersonic engine. So we joined with the Russians and we put our process stock. We are good in software and national guidance system, onboard computer, fire control systems, platforms. That is our process stock. Russian gave their process stock as the ramjet engine, which is a very important thing, and the homing seeker. So with that, joint design, joint development, manufacture, and marketing was the theme. and we evolved a concept of private industry using the government money. So DRDO puts 50.5%, that's Indian money, and Russian money is 49.5%. With that, we became a private company, and I was appointed as the CEO and MD of this joint venture. So the we have got all the things ready now. Naval versions, army versions, air versions, everything is available to safeguard our country. This will be the first attack missile in war. So this simple thing we are showing how precise it is. This is a launch from one ship to another ship. And see, one missile can destroy completely the enemy missile. Another one without warhead was launched without warhead. Because of the speed, it hit a big ship and the whole ship was burning. Let's see that. So this is now all the ships will be having BrahMos missile. That's a decision of the Navy. And similarly, Army has got all the thing in the border, and Air Force has inducted in the Sukhoi. You can see a Sukhoi launch in BrahMos missile in Andaman Sea, and in one of the small islands we have put a target. This center of the point is the target point. It hits that point. These are the camera stations, 2 stations. It should hit at this point. So you see the accuracy. It is coming 300 kilometers away, and in a maneuverable trajectory, it can go and hit. Then you see within this that it should hit. So this is without warhead. With warhead, it will be a whole thing will be, will not exist. So by comparing the American capability, which is a Tomahawk missile, which is a very good missile. It has been used in the Gulf War. A good guidance system they have. We have the speed is 3 times. So we have got kinetic energy 9 times. And the same missile can be used for sea and land targets. That capability is not there with the Tomahawk because that is mostly the TERCOM based. That's why they don't have. And then salvo firing 3 seconds, we also have got every 3 seconds the missile will take off. Interceptable because it's a subsonic, and today the supersonic cruise missiles are not interceptable. And particularly we have designed with the countermeasures and stealth. So we are #1 in the world today, BrahMos. It all happened because of the systematic approach initiated by Professor Satish Dhawan to develop the system. And from ISRO only we transferred ourselves to DRDO to do such tasks. Same thing we did industry. Said industry, collaborate with industry. Same thing we did today. 20,000 specialists are there. 205 industries are producing BrahMos missile components, and we are integrating in our own complex. BrahMos has got a separate integration complex in multiple places. So we have got a good production setup, a blend of public and private, and venturing now into a hypersonic regime. So the future, if you look at the future, the foundation by Professor Satish Dhawan will lead India to be a very dominant aerospace power the years to come. So if you see that there is a morphing wing, unmanned combat vehicle, hypersonic missiles, analyzing Moon, Mars, Venus, these are the missions. Then blended wing body, then hyperplane, reusable systems, solar power satellite, mining in planets, then space colony, then space tourism, interplanetary travel beyond the sun to locate another Earth. All these things will happen in the next 200 years. So we are going to be a very finding innovative solutions, cost-effective solutions to see that we are a very dominant spacefaring country in the world. So if we can make, definitely we can transform India a developed nation. It's not a dream. We have achieved many things. We have moved many things. 70 to 80% we have come. What is needed is the putting together all our resources, natural resources and human resources with the heritage we have got, add value using knowledge and technology, do the missions in the mission mode approach, public-private consortium, international joint ventures, develop the industries, go for self-reliant approach, then we will be having food, health, social security, economic prosperity, which is now we are struggling in that. This is a very important requirement, and defense and internal security. So developed India, peace and prosperity will come if you are all united. If we can work together to achieve the dream of Professor Satish Dhawan and Dr. Kalam and other great leaders. So when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary thoughts, all your thoughts break their bounds. Your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamt yourself to be. So our mind should blossom like this rose at Ramaya University. We are here. Our mind should blossom at Ramaya University, and also the listeners who are they are linked with us to make India a developed nation. Thank you very much. This is our space. You can see this image is space makes impossible looking things possible. From the this is not the Hubble telescope. It is our own telescope which is giving the Rab Nebula as taken. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really indeed our privilege to listen to your experience and know about how Professor Dhawan built a great organization like ISRO. People have built the foundation stones and have also developed to a very large extent, and it is our own students' duty to further go it up. Professor Pillai has also given some more insights where students can look into and where they can develop. So there are a lot of insights into where the space organization is looking for, and as well as defense. I hope our students will get a lot of knowledge about it and build upon it. Thank you, sir. So we have a question and answer session.
Well, it depends. Well, it depends.
Yes, sir. So we have a question and answer session. Now I request Professor Narahari to moderate the session. So as you know, he also had the privilege of working with Professor Dhawan as a student because he did his ME and PhD from IASC Aerospace Department. Sir, please. Hello.
Thank you, Professor Shrikari. You're right, I was only a student. I can't claim to have worked with him. And a few times I have visited his house as part of the student delegation. One important thing which both Dr. Rajan and Dr. Pillai did not mention is that how pro-student he was. Any student who had problems with his PhD guide, he could go and visit Professor Dhawan, and Professor Dhawan inevitably, in all cases, took the side of the student. His famous statement is there are no stupid students, there are only stupid professors. And that hurts now that I become a professor myself. And the first time he visited the department as a student, what struck me was that he reminded me of Professor Higgins from My Fair Lady movie, a tall, handsome man with full white hair. I had a suspicion that he was actually dyeing his hair white. Nobody could have such pure, silvery white hair like him. And his English accent was remarkable. And also that, the way he would explain things was amazing about supersonic wind tunnels and things like that. So only a couple of lectures I've attended with him. And as per this talk, I was scanning and a few comments came up, not really questions. One of them is an old question which says, a poor country like India can it really afford a space program? I'm sure this question has been posed to Dr. Rajan and Shodhana Pillai, umpteen number of times, but still, maybe they could add things. Now that we have succeeded so well, maybe it was justified. I remember this was being posed during Professor Dhawan's period itself, whether we can really afford space program. Yes, sir. What do you say, sir, now? You think we have really met the requirements of spending that money on this program as a poor country?
Whom? The question is to whom?
To you only.
Okay,
Project,
you want me to
project.
answer? Okay, I will do that. I think the person who has asked it is so obsolete. He or she who has asked that question lives in somewhere around 70s. Post this thing, there are a lot of studies done by economists themselves. The cost benefit of telecom systems will be 1:5. Without space, you would not be having all these telecoms, this type of services. Number two, cyclone. People were dying. With the cyclone warning given well in advance 1 week before. Andhra cyclone, I'll tell you, in the 70s, it used to be 10,000 people dead. We can't stop the cyclone, but we can advance in it. So that if you see, the life value is much more. Then remote sensing. Cost benefit, it has been done very formally. Even I was involved at the insistence of Prof. Dhawan in the Space Commission. At that time, he was not chairman in ISRO. It was done, and we found that is 1:, cost benefit is 1:4. That is, benefit is 4. If those who have asked the question may not even perhaps know what is cost benefit, but if they look at it, every item has been about 4 to 5 times over it has been done, given direct. Plus, in addition, the amount of things which come, what is called as downstream industries. It is not only you have to look at satellite and launch vehicles. Downstream industries, there are millions of employment. The whole this sector, telecom sector, would not have done this at all so fast. TV in 1980s beginning, it used to be only one channel, Krishi Darshan. Now post INSAT, which came, and then the subsequent one, Indian made INSATs and other thing coming, 300 channels. For telephone, I'll tell you, because we have answered such questions, that's why I said that you are living in the 80s. Rajiv Gandhi, you just say, give us in a simple form. I used to brief for the Prime Minister. So it is like this. 15 years of telephone coverage in India was taken after the INSAT came, it was done in 1.5 years. That money doesn't go to ISRO. Similarly, the 300 channels derive so much of advertising and various other revenues and then doing so much of programs, etc. This is what is to be done. I think now, in the 21st to 2020, if such a person asks a question, I think they have to read something, because I'm sorry if you say like this, but they have to read something instead of just throwing off a question just because it is to be done. The person who said it at that time in 60s, yes, it would have been a dilemma. So Sarabhai answered it very well. Can a poor country afford? People ask. Then he can say, can we afford not to do it? And they were right. I think I don't want to say anything more. Because those who want, they have to go and read it. Because without reading, people should not ask questions. It's a thing which you have learned from Prof. Dhawan.
I think that's what you can still find such Jurassic era people in this country who question such kind of activities. I remember reading in the newspapers at that time when this was asked that the entire ISRO's budget was less than the last being made by the Delhi Public Transport Corporation. So the question was, if India can afford last making Delhi public transport, they certainly can afford ISRO. That's one of the things. Another question which is more, inquisitive. This is addressed to Dr. Shivdhan Pillais. What is the status of hyperplane? Is this project under development, or is it still being contemplated?
See, hyperplane concept came in 1987. Actually, we thought about the detailed thing and we made a design document. There were the Air Commander Gopalasamy, who is in Hyderabad, who was at that time the CMD of Bharat Dynamics, they took the leadership to evolve a complete concept design. We presented in IAF conference, everywhere we presented. Now the thing is, there should be DRDO and ISRO should join and make one mission possible. So there was a presentation made to ISRO that this is the concept we have evolved. So a lot of discussion took place. So first and foremost thing is the hypersonic technology has to be proven. So the attempt was to make a hypersonic engine, which is the scramjet technology that is to be proved. So DRDO and ISRO, they have taken up that project, and now successfully, both of them successfully, flight tested the scramjet technology. And today we have the technology know-how for hypersonic engines. We have. Now to configure the hyperplane to make it such a way, what we need is the heat exchanger development, which is a very important thing. How left out hot air can be cooled as cold air and converted into liquid oxygen. This is a process which is to be improved. This is not yet proved, and these are only very preliminary research area is being done on that. But the main attempt today is not on the hyperplane by both ISRO and DRDO. The main attempt today is to make hypersonic vehicle. So in DRDO, there's a program now to go for hypersonic cruise missile. So first we should go into hypersonic cruise missile. When we talk about missiles, we can use only kerosene, which is storable liquid. So we are now going for Mach 8 around that, which is possible with kerosene. So that is the progress which DRDO is making, not on the hyperplane which I was presenting. Then in ISRO also, they have got a new design for a two-stage hypersonic vehicle they have got. So that is to to put very low cost to put the satellite in the orbit. This is their attempt. So we are proceeding in some direction, not in the hyperplane which I explained. That is our ultimate goal. Probably after some time, we will realize that that is necessary. A hyperplane will reduce the cost substantially, 100. And you can use more than 100 times the same. You can take off from any airport. But in a launch vehicle or in a missile, you need a special place to do that. So that are the advantages are there, but still a long way to go to make hyperplane in this country.
Thank you, sir. There was a request from one of our staff members how to, acquire a copy of the report you mentioned, sir. Dr. Rajan, sir, you mentioned bigger space and aerospace article. The request is how do we get a copy of that too, so that we could read it?
See, I have given in the chat what is the name of the document and other thing. Now, my long experience shows if I make it easy, people don't read it at all. Let them search. Let them search for it. Okay, it is possible. Then, if they can't, then I am ready to give it.
Okay,
very easily accessible.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Because what happens is everybody wants to give me a link where it won't be in the link. It is in the given the thing in the astronautical society, etc., etc. Let them try it, and it is a wonderful document. But some of the experts of it are available in my talk, the memorial lecture, which I mentioned, Institute of Engineers, and that is, I think, available in my website. So let them search for it, because now I learned from a long experience. Don't get. I used to Xerox and send to people. Later I found that they don't read. So anyway, one item on that cost effectiveness and the benefits. I just want to say something. It is not only in terms of money. Fishermen, people used to die. This gives advance warning. Don't go to this. There is because that type of thing can be done. Plus, more importantly, to protect the fisheries. Where it is available in plenty, take it. Then don't go items in which they lay eggs, because there will be to explain the complex process how the remote sensing does these things. So it is done not only in India, California does it, etc. In fact, the fishermen get a lot of time, and then they won't unnecessarily kill the new things which will come, which will only kill their own this thing. Plus also environment. One of the very major one, it was directly under Professor Dhawan's time it took place, the forest cover. Forest today, India is not losing forest cover, it is increasing. The reason is the remote sensing thing. It is the environmental protection which comes through remote sensing. You can't do it in terms of money terms. The urban degradation, many things are done. Then those who want to know anything about any village and any resources in India, it is freely available. That is Bhuvan, B-H, B as in Bombay, H as in house, U, V as in Vikram Sarabhai, A as in apple, N, Nagpur. Bhuvan, let them go and see. Every village and everything they can get data, resource data. Then there is a one on similarly on a subset of it is water resources in India. Anytime it is continuously getting updated, it is not done by ISRO. That one is done by the user ministry. The greatest strength is user ministries are doing. The agricultural forecasting, FISL it is called, it has been done by the agricultural ministry. Forest monitoring, it is done by them. He made it compulsory. Rajiv Gandhi was the first one to make it compulsory for them. Every biannual. And remote sensing data won't lie. It will come there. So there are millions of examples in which it is not only the money, it is also the this part of it. As far as the book is concerned, I think somebody has told, noted, sir. So let us see. Let them try. They can't, Sharat or any one of you, whether you yourself know, you contact me, then I will tell you.
Sure, thank you. I think that's about it. There are not many more things.
Okay.
But, I think
Anyway, this time I think people will be very hungry. Thanks actually for them to be around at least to. I think that those who put the questions were there to hear. It is okay. Good. Thanks again. Shivananda Pillai did a wonderful job in terms of all the details. It was very important. We had the opportunity to see a person. You know, anything written, anything you show, even a documentary will not be. We were the 3 dimension. And as you said about how he looked like, how it is fantastic. A great human being. Lucky, maybe once in a century, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Kadambi, for giving me this opportunity to interact with our people and these advantages of the space research in Earth observation and communication. I also presented, but I did not discuss the detail because I have to complete my talk fast. So I thought people know, but the questions are from that. So that information is available. If you go through my presentation, many things will be answered. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Narahari.
Thank you, sirs. It's really, we are really honored to hear both of you. Now I request Dr. Raja, our head of the Department of Aerospace Engineering, to give the closing remarks.
Very good afternoon to all present here. Since already it's a lunch time, I'll not take much time. See, Dr. Kadambi and Dr. Rajan and Dr. Pillai, all they have given the information as well as shared their relationship with Professor Satish Dhawan in different aspects. Actually, I can conclude like this: all the 3 speakers expressed, or they say they given the information about Professor Satish Dhawan capability, how an educator become an ISRO chairman, how he handled both the things together parallelly, and how he can resolve the problem when internal conflicts come. That's what Professor Rajan very clearly told with some issues inside how he managed it. And Professor Kadambi told how, in Tamil there is a saying, Guru Vijay Sishyan. In case he said how the lead man given the statement saying that if Professor Dhawan recommends somebody without any question and take, that means he understood the importance of Professor Satish Dhawan, so that it shows his capability and his the knowledge what he earned over the period. Also, Professor Pillai said how he designed, how the ISRO will be for down the line, and especially bringing the private industries collaboration for the development of program in the country is very important. That he realized, and somehow he was able to execute his plan, and whatever the Dr. Pillai showed, this kind of collaboration helped us to reach the great heights. Finally, I would like to conclude with this quote. Once Professor Dhawan said, "If you do not have a mission,
no problem will occur. But if you do have a mission or task, definitely problems of varying magnitudes will crop up. But problems should not become the master of individuals. Individuals should become the master of problem, defeat it and succeed it. So this is the quote he has given in one of his speech, which is available in the website. And in fact, Professor Rajan shared a lot of things which is not available on the website or in the books. I thank both the speakers, Professor Rajan as well as Pillai, sparing their time and giving the valuable information to us. I thanks once again to you, sir. I thank all the participants. I thank Professor Kadami for leading this program. I thank everybody. Thank you very much. Wish you a happy New Year.
Thank you. Professor Rajan sir, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It all started with your book. It all started with the launch of your book by the Vice President of India. Yeah, anyway, good.
That book, lot of details are there about Professor Satish Dhawan, which I have not stated now.
Yeah.
One can read the book. There are a lot of things about Dhawan.
People don't read, I say nowadays. It has become 140 characters. They can't read more than that. That's the problem. In fact, Professor Dhawan used to say, library should have not even the access ones. People should browse